The Film Review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5. The Film Review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Facebook at Crazon Dion.
Hey everybody, this is Lunell, the original bad girl of comedy. I'm here at the Link Promenade in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, and you're watching The Film Review.
What's going on, people? What's going on, people? Do we have a great show for you today?
Yes.
We are the husband and wife team.
Yes.
This is the Film Review.
Yes.
Movies, music, culture, politics, and society podcast.
Yes.
This is the wrap-up show for 2019 for the 10s. Next week, we will be in 2020, the second decade of the 21st century. And like I said, this is the wrap-up show. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
I'm Tracy.
And we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society on this podcast we call The Film Review. Yes, sir. And listen, do we have a great show for you today?
Yeah.
Right? We have Foster Corder.
Yeah.
Right? He was Rudy Ray Moore's production guy. The guy who knew how then and knows even more now how to produce and make a film come from beginning to end, behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. So we're going to be talking to him. He is our interview for tonight. You know how we do for the up and coming, the next generation of filmmakers. We make sure that we interview people who are in the know, who make it happen, who have been in the industry, inside of the Hollywood system and outside of the Hollywood system. But before we get started with that, we have to look at, how your week was. You know what I mean? How was your week? We're going to look at the blurb. So how was your week?
It was a great week. The holidays was nice. It was nice to see. Really Christmas, I feel, it's really for the kids.
Really for the kids.
Yeah, so I was happy to see all of the children,
Doing
family
their
as
thing.
well as friends,
Right.
little ones happy, celebrating the holidays.
That's right. So we saw something interesting on Netflix.
Oh yeah,
that just
good.
dropped.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart, Don't F This Up.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful documentary piece, right?
It is.
Broke up into episodes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it chronicles his beginning to now.
Yeah.
And it is well worth watching on Netflix, right? Netflix has upped its game.
Yeah.
And I saw a post that came through one of the different film industry pages, and they said something about maybe AT&T or Disney might be buying Netflix in 2020.
Wow.
Did they build themselves up just to be an acquisition to a company? That will be seen in 2020. We'll see. This Charlize Theron woman, they released a picture where she now has 2 little black boys.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
She has 2 little black boys, and what is the odds that both of the little black boys would want to dress up in little girls' clothing and consider themselves to be
Little
a
girls.
girl?
Yeah, because that's what I was like. Both little boys.
Both?
She adopted 2 different periods of time. They're not the same age.
Right.
So
She is from South Africa, and we have to begin to research people and figure out, what's their thing, what's their mentality, what's their thought process like. Was she some of the people who their people lost land once? The time came for the invaders to hand the land back over to the Azanians, right? The actual name of South Africa is Zania.
Yeah.
Was it time for them to hand it back over? Is she some of the one of the people whose relatives, her people, lost land, and thus she's trying to? I mean, we don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's just supposition.
I don't know, just my personal opinion. She decided, hey, I'm going to dress them up as little girls, and I want them to be my daughters. Because what are the odds? Maybe, if the one little boy decided that, hey, I really feel like that I'm a little girl inside, or that's what they say. Some people say that's how they feel, But what are the odds that both children
would want to do it? Right.
So
that's what
I
saying.
just think she just decided she wanted to have two little girls, and she.
Well, either way it is, people should have a little child should have the right to choose what and who they want to be.
Right.
Let them go through the natural process.
Right.
But anyway, let's move on. Okay. Javante Davis and the Gamboa fight.
Oh yes.
Gamboa snapped his Achilles, as reported by Seconds Out Radio Raheem.
Right.
He snapped his Achilles tendon, but he snapped his Achilles tendon in the second round, and he boxed for 10 additional rounds until he finally was knocked out by Javante Tank Davis. Either way, it's a great performance. It's a really good fight as far as when I was watching it, right? Because each person was, not necessarily practicing the sweet science.
Right.
So usually when the Mexicans are in there fighting and they're punching each other in the face, the people say, "Oh, this was a great fight. This was a great fight." I thought that Tank Davis, though winded, and that might have to do with his training, we'll see. But he was winded, moving up to 135, having to, he was at 138 during the weigh-in and had to melt those pounds off to get on the scale, or he would have forfeited, as the rules go.
Yeah.
But for him to even suck it up and get second win at the end of the 11th round, going into the 12th to end it, shows his tenacity and determination. Plus, styles make fights. And I think they trained for Gamboa to be coming forward.
Right.
And Gamboa wasn't coming forward. And Tank Davis was probably going to be the defensive fighter, then turn to offense once he had the man hurt.
Right.
But Gamboa never came forward. So that's why Tank Davis had to then change up his game plan and become more economical with his punches and then deliver the knockout in the end. Other than that, great job to Tank Davis, and we look forward to all those who are doubting Thomases. We'll get in the ring with him if you think you can predict knocking him out in 3 rounds because of his punch output. Styles make fights. Always remember that. And here's another sad news that just came from off of the news service on CNN. U.S. Congressman John Lewis of Georgia has stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that's sorry to hear that. Yeah, we prayers go up because pancreatic cancer, especially at stage 4, that's like. And I wonder how he feels being a black man who was on the bridge that day. I can't think of the first name, but I know the second part of it, Pettus Bridge, and for him to have been beat about the head and made it back and didn't know how he made it back, to go through and be in the Congress all these years and see this situation seem to be shifting backwards as he appears to be in his ending time. I don't know how that would feel.
Your prayers go out to.
But of course, James Baldwin said, as a black man, you're always aggravated because because you see this going on and you want to, before you leave, see this rectified so the next generation doesn't have to go through with it, right?
We've had family members who passed away from
cancer.
So definitely, our prayers go out to his
family and him and prayers and last thing on the blurbs this week. Did you see the video from the live stream cam from the West Freeway Church of Christ? A gunman walks in, he sits around the parishioners. Now, this is what Martin Luther King always said, and I believe that he got it from the anti-black racist person, Mahatma Gandhi, that if you let one group of people, let something happen to one group of people, sooner or later it will happen to you, right? So Dylan Roof walks in, kills the 9. So here we are. Here's a gunman that walks in. He looks like he had a mask on or something. I don't really know what's going on. They said they were watching him because of his look, but he looked like he had a mask on of some sort. But it looks like there's a black man standing there with the collection tray in his hand, and he asked him something. Then he pulls out a sawed-off shotgun. It comes from out of nowhere. If you watch these videos they have these jeans, you know, these and honey enthusiasts, I don't know what they have them for, but where you can hold a whole gun and then you can pop it out easily. But the gun comes from out of nowhere. One of the white security dudes stands up, tries to shoot. He shoots him down. Then he shoots the unarmed black man, looks like a black man. And then one of the other armed security guards takes him out with one shot, right? So when you don't say anything, they will soon come for you.
And there was also shooting at a mosque.
That's right. And they took him too, right? They were armed too, right? Then they as I remember, I didn't really catch that one, but that one caught my ear, or caught my view today. Okay, people.
Prayers go out to their family.
Prayers go out to the family. Like, you know, the one guy, he tries to reach for his gun. Like, that's folly. It's all the way back on the back hip. That's really folly. He took him out real fast. And then he just shot the unarmed man. I think he was black, right? And he shot him down, and then, but he was still living. But I noticed that the people who ran up, they were giving first aid to the guy who was down, who was first initially shot. The black man, I believe, died on the way.
Oh, did he?
Once he got to the hospital. So that was kind of benign neglect from what I see on the videotape. But you watch it. Maybe he wasn't black. Maybe he was a dark-skinned, olive-complected Italian or something. Right? Okay, people.
Well, you know what? The Kevin Hart, back to that documentary on Netflix, was put together by his wife. So
that's right. His wife
did an excellent job.
She did. The way that they tie in time continuum.
She did a great
from
job.
the past to the present to now. You know, it's really well done, and it keeps your interest. It's A1. Netflix is doing their thing going into 2020, possibly being an acquisition. All right, people. So without further ado, right? We're going to bring up our guest for this evening's show, right? He is an established filmmaker. Let me set up his image so you can see who we are talking about, right? We want to set up his image so you can see who we're talking about, right? Let's stop this real quick as we're having a little technical difficulty. There we go. Now we're right. All right, people. So let me run this down. Forrest V. Quarter. He is a well-established and recognized cinematographer, producer, director, actor, writer, editor, electrician in the film industry, and he is a military veteran, so automatically we thank him for his service. Many look at the actor, the in front of the camera talent, but it is Foster's skill set which puts rubber to the road to move the production car to movie completion. With films under his belt such as Church the Movie 2012, Breeder X 2014-2015, Yo Alien 2002, The Legend of Dolemite 1994. We are talking about none other, but I'm not finished yet. From humane campaigns to music videos to McDonald's restaurant campaigns, his experience in delivering the through line within the narrative is clear to see. We are talking about none other than Foster V. Quarter. Are you on the line, Foster?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you so much. Well, that's a heck of an introduction. I want to meet that guy.
Well, shoot, that's you, brother. That's you. Every time you wake up in the morning, you say, "I am, therefore I am," and there you are. You meet yourself every morning.
That's the fact. Let me say, first of all, let me say hello and to your wife, and thank you both for having me on. You know, and I couldn't get her name.
Tracy.
Yes. Hi. Thank you.
Tracy. Okay, Alice. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Let me tell you
Thank you.
first. Okay. And it's really, really nice meeting you guys. I didn't know about your show before, but I've been listening and checking you out. And just like tonight, just to hear how deep you guys go, just in the first couple of minutes. I mean, with a couple of things. I mean, we'll get to that Charlize Theron thing, but what you said about the next generation, though, brothers, I mean, that is it. When you say, you know, helping and passing on to the next generation, that's exactly what it's about, you know. Again, you said in the morning, you know, I thank God every morning when I wake up and I catch that first breath. You know, and I was like, wow, I can get out the bed on my own. I can walk around. I can breathe. I can see. It's a miracle. It's a blessing. But the next generation is what it's about. That's why I try to give every day, and I appreciate you, you know, calling me and contacting me to have me on so I can share. So I'm an open book. So, you know, however I can help or whatever you guys want to know, I'm really down for it. But you said some deep things, and the whole Netflix Disney thing. God, I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, we're going to get to that because you have been in the industry on both sides, and we're going to get to. I have a question about that, so we don't want to pull it too soon. So if you can hold that for a minute, and let us get started, because I know you are teeming with information that I know that the young people need. All right, so we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back a little bit.
Okay.
We're gonna start back in your early life. You grew up in Chicago, Illinois. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And what was
South side of Chicago?
South side. So what was the South side of Chicago like during the time that you came up?
It was rough, brother. Compared to what's happening now, it was really rough. I mean, they talk about the street gangs, like the Crips and the Bloods. You know, they made all the news because of all the movies. But the worst street gang in the history of America was on the south side of Chicago in the 60s and 70s, and that was the Blackstone Rangers. And they later became the El Rookie.
Okay.
And so that's the street gang that I grew up with, and I have to give them credit for encouraging and inspiring me to forge my birth certificate at 15 to go to Vietnam.
Okay.
Because I couldn't stay there.
Okay, so were there black? We want to get the whole picture. So this was happening. So the gang situation, they talk about it in Chicago now, and it's always been since the original gangsters, which were the Italians and the Irish and the Germans. They had their gangs working it. So Chicago is not new to having gang violence. I'll say that. But within that gang violence, there were black-owned businesses. Is that correct? Your mother owned property. Is that correct?
Absolutely. It was plenty of black-owned businesses, and what the black gang did, very much like the Irish and the Italians, they preyed upon some of the black businesses by extortion. You know, you don't want your business to get vandalized and robbed and then you pay that that monthly, weekly little, net. And because it wasn't, back in the day, it wasn't drugs that fueled the gangs like it is now. So it's more, so it's just, well, that's a whole nother show in terms of how the whole black gangs in the inner cities got started, and with the, between the CIA and the FBI and the political, just the local politicians using people and putting fear of, particularly in Chicago, it was like keeping people from voting. Just like right now, it's still the game is the same in the South and everything, is to keep people from voting. And in Chicago, with Mayor Daley and the whole political thing that was happening back then, it was again all about the vote and putting fear in people and making people vote the way that they wanted them to, and the extortion of the businesses was the second part, and the third part was it was not, drugs wasn't even in the picture really, because it wasn't a big drug market. I mean, if somebody was selling heroin or marijuana back then, it wasn't a huge market for it. So it wasn't like it is today where it's $1 billion business. Back then, if somebody smoked weed, that was a big deal. Mm-hmm. But it was the extortion and the controlling of the vote.
Okay, so what was high school like? Where did you go to high school, and what was that like? And then in there, what activities did you take that led you to your interest in photography? Did they have photography classes? They didn't. They had drama classes. They had art. What was it? They had a whole...
Right. Okay. That's a very good question. I went to St. Cyril's Catholic school first. That's pretty much where I got my outlook of the universe. Was going to Catholic school, being an altar boy. My mom is the real movie, because I wouldn't be nothing without her. And she worked as the secretary at the Catholic school that the three kids went to, her three kids, during the day. Then she'd bring us home, feed us, and start us on our homework. She'd go back to that school, St. Cyril's, and she was the janitor or the custodian at the school at night. So she mopped the floors, waxed them, emptied trash, do all that stuff. And she was answering the phone and typing letters during the daytime. Then she also managed the apartment building that we lived in for the German guy that owned it named Otto.
Okay.
And she drove taxi cab on the weekend.
Okay.
My mom was a straight hustler. Yeah. But I went to Chicago Academy. I'm sorry, that was college. I went to CVS High School for 1 year. And then I forged my birth certificate and went to Vietnam. I studied, what was it? Shop. It was lithography, which is a art form that kind of gone by the wayside, but lithography and art history.
Okay, now that was in
for the 1 year.
Okay, that was in high school for the 1 year. So when you got to Vietnam, what branch of the service were you in?
I was in the Navy.
Okay. The Navy. Okay.
I went in the Navy. Yeah, I went in the Navy for to go to film school.
Okay.
And I scored high enough on the test and everything because I'd been into photography. I mean, I got my first camera from being a paper boy. Chicago Sun-Times. You see, that was the one thing I left out. My mom, besides those other jobs, she ran a newspaper branch out of the basement of our apartment building every morning for the Chicago Sun-Times, and we delivered newspapers. So the Chicago Sun-Times had a subscription drive, and if you got so many subscriptions, you get this little pin-like camera. You put 2 batteries in it and some film and take pictures. And back then it was films. If you go to the store, get some films. Mm-hmm. And so that piqued my interest in photography.
That's similar to the story. That's similar to the story of Gordon Parks, right? Because he went and saved enough to get a camera, or he won a contest from submitting pictures, if I remember correctly. So they were offering those type of opportunities to everyone at that time, and you just were able to take advantage of that, right?
Jumped on it and I got so many subscriptions. I got 2 cameras.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
That started me to taking pictures, and I loved it. And then there was a guy on my newspaper route, Mr. Hollins. He had a little makeshift photography studio in his basement apartment, and basically, to make a long story short, sir, he ended up taking advantage of my interest in photography, and he molested me at about 11, 12 years old, something like that. And my mom, went down there and shot up his apartment, and the next day him and his wife were gone. So,
now that's crazy, because today the laws, they have changed. Me and my wife were just talking about this. They have changed the laws around to help the bully. Like, you're in school, somebody shoves you or punches you. If you punch back, you're the one that's in trouble, not the person, or the person who, or both of you get suspended. So they have changed the rules around, because it looks like a lot of the bullies went into education, right? And a lot of the bullies are in the law now, putting the laws on the books to lock people up for things. I remember my grandmother telling a story about how when she was in Youngstown, something had happened and someone had called somebody darker than a V8 Ford, and all Fords were dark black back then. And so she was laughing, and the person said, "What you laughing at?" It was a guy, and he walked up on the porch. He said, "You better step back up off my porch." And he was coming to do something. She pulled out her .22. He backed up, turned around. She shot him in the butt. And then when they went to court, he told the judge, said, "Well, you had no business stepping up on the porch." Now the law is you have to shoot the person inside the house. So it's all these bullies getting into moving the laws and changing the laws, from what I see. Okay, so you went to the military. Did you see action, or were you like in Full Metal Jacket, where he was the photographer, but he had to also use the guns too?
No, what happened was, once I got into boot camp, they told me that I was on the special 2-year program.
Okay.
And the photography school that I had qualified for was a 1.5-year school. So I would have to sign up for the full 4 years. And I refused to do that. So they told me to pick another military school. So I picked navigation, and I ended up at the Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island, studying navigation and synoptic weather and stuff. So I became a quartermaster, which basically on a ship is the person who plots the courses. And back then you didn't have GPS and stuff, so you had to use a sextant and read the stars, and at nighttime, and plot your courses, and be able to know weather and the ocean, and it was old time sailing. It was sailing by the way that Columbus used to sail, with charts and maps and the sun and the stars.
Well, Columbus wasn't too good at it, because he thought that the Americas was India, so maybe it would have been the Moors. The Moors traversed. Right? So are you still a boating enthusiast, or did the ocean become quite tedious for you?
Yeah, it became quite tedious. They can keep a boat right now. If I became a billionaire tomorrow, the last thing I would buy is a boat. You know what they say, there's only 2 great days when you buy a boat.
What's that?
The day you buy it and the day you sell it.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you.
But I'm done on the ocean. Yeah, no, the ocean taught me. The ocean deserves all the respect. Okay, the ocean is the one thing that people take for granted, but that's one thing on this planet that if it decides to move or it gets upset, all of us are in trouble. So, but my days on the ocean, going to Vietnam, while I was in Vietnam, coming back, it taught me to respect the sea and keep my ass on land.
Okay. So you finished your 2 years in the military. Thank you for your service, because Vietnam was no joke, and they were calling baby killers and all of that in between time. But you came back and you went to college. So when you came back and you went to college, what was your focus of study? You got back into what you wanted to do, which was photography?
Yeah, I went to the Chicago Academy of Fine Arts right away, and using my GI Bill. And I opened a photography studio on the south side of Chicago called Foster's Pet and Animal Photography. Because, excuse me, sir, because I was tired of, I had been, while I was learning photography, doing fashion, you know, like most young photographers back in the day, and you got to understand that this is a different time too. Today everything is digital. Back then, every time you hit shutter, it cost you some money. You know, it cost, you know, $2 or $3 or $4 or $5 every time you pushed a button, because one, you had to buy a roll of film. Two, you had to process it, pay to process the roll of film, unless or have your own darkroom, like I had my own darkroom, and I could develop the film, and then you had to print the stuff, and then that meant there was a cost of paper. So you had to print, and you had to, if you had a darkroom, you had to spend a couple of hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a working darkroom, or spend money to send your pictures to the drugstore and have them developed and wait for them to come back. So it was a different time than it is now, because photography was a very, very expensive profession, much like film. I mean, film was a lot more expensive than it is today. A lot of people, again, the next generation, all they know is digital, and you know, it doesn't cost, which is a problem, because people take shortcuts and they don't learn as much as they can or should, because it can just erase the digital stuff. You know, you can just delete it and shoot it again.
Plus,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Plus, in film, you had to overexpose and underexpose to get the perfect shot.
That's right.
You had to worry about the chemicals turning you crazy if you breathed them in.
That's right.
Right? So, I mean, it's a whole totally different thing.
It was a lot. Totally different. Totally different. And that means you know what you were doing. And there was no experimenting and just, you know, that's why you had to study and go to school, or really spend some time, you know, as an apprentice learning how to do things, and, you know, because it just costs so much money. So anyway, moving on, I forgot what took us there.
Okay, well that's good. That's talking about your college education. So you graduate from college with your degree, and then what was the catalyst that sent you to the military? Were the gangs? What was the catalyst that made you decide that I'm going to move? You have a successful business right now. You're shooting animals, dogs, and you're the photographer for canned food, dogs, canned food items, right? Cow-Can, right? And so you're doing all that.
What a company called Cow-Can.
So what made you decide that I have this successful business, but I'm going to go on ahead and try to ply my trade out in Los Angeles, California?
There was two things.
Okay.
It was a couple of things, actually. One, Hollywood was always calling.
Okay.
You know, I had grown as big in Chicago as an animal photographer as I could be. By being the only African American animal photographer in the country, that was very unique, and I did it. You know, I was traveling around the country with the dog shows and horse shows. I was shooting horses and dogs for, you know, like $1,200, $1,500 a picture. And in 1977, $1,500 was a lot of money, for one picture. You know, it's a lot of money today.
Yeah, a lot of money today.
You know, in
Yeah.
1977. you know, it was in 1977. That was a good day.
Mm-hmm.
So I would travel with the horse shows and the dog shows, and I would take pictures of pretty much wealthy people's pictures, the pets and the horses and what have you. And two things. One, the cold wintertime in Chicago drove me out of that sucker because it was like 30 below. So it was a combination of things. One, wanting to go to Hollywood and try the movie game. Two, the cold in Chicago. Three, I grew Chicago. And four, the young girl that I had decided I was in love with and married, she decided that she was gay all of a sudden. So
Okay.
I was like, well, you know what? Chicago, I'm pretty much done with your ass. So it was Hollywood, you know, was the next move.
Okay, so for those who are just tuning in, we are speaking to Foster V. Corder. He is a filmmaker, a director, a writer, a producer, and most importantly, he is behind the scenes, a grip, an electrician. He's the one that makes the movie come to light and to life. And so if you don't know how to do that, you probably won't have a very successful movie because the lighting is everything. Yeah. And for those who don't know, I will say this because he is dropping out this knowledge that if you didn't catch on, having a background in still photography will help you in film photography, because that's what film photography is. Cinematography is moving stills. Right? So having that ability to light through a photography background will help you produce a quality film. Okay, so you move out to Los Angeles, California, and you hit the brick wall. You thought that racism was something in Chicago. You come out, you have all of the ability possible, and then you hit this brick wall. It's not even a glass ceiling. It's a brick wall that comes down and says, stay your butt over in Inglewood and don't come across to Beverly Hills and everything will be all right. And you said, well, God darn it, my ability of catching angles and images, I decided that the only job that was offering any openings was porn, so I went into that. So my question about your porn time, which I believe you said was pretty short, does that inform you on the film grammar and the angles that you deliver today in your images?
No, and congratulations on doing your homework, sir. I can tell if you've done your research. The short period of porn was only good to show me that that's what I didn't want to spend time doing.
Okay.
It was good to operate film cameras. You know, again, as you were just saying, it was so expensive and shooting, 16 millimeter film was an experience in itself. But it wasn't until filmmakers like Rudy Ray Moore, Jamal Tanaka, and the Fred Williamsons of the world, who gave me the opportunity. Brothers like Cliff Rockmore was one of the few African American men in Hollywood making movies at that time. And Rudy Ray Moore was amazing because I had seen one of his films, one of Jamal Tanaka's films, and Jamal Tanaka, he's for people who don't know the name,
it's Penitentiary. Penitentiary 1 and 2.
1 and 2 and 3, and his first film was a film called MMA, which was about a sister coming from the South, moving to LA on the South Side, moving to Compton or Watts or something, and her being country and the slicksters taking advantage of her, but she ends up kicking this guy's ass in the front yard of her house, which is one of the funniest things you ever want to see. A country girl get tired of taking that city stuff. If you guys want to look up a film that's great, it's a lot of lessons in it. It's called MMA.
MMA.
MMA, and Jamal Fanaka. So, and Jamal, again, another brother that was vital in my success and in my career of giving me opportunities and learning, because I worked on Penitentiary 2 and 3 with him.
Mm-hmm.
But Rudy Ray Moore was after film school. Rudy taught me more than any other filmmaker, any other thing I did in film, and spending the 20 years with Rudy Ray Moore. Now, I went to Capitol Records and I became.
Okay, wait. We're gonna get there. Wait. Don't. I got this. Believe me, we're gonna get there. Listen.
Okay, gotcha.
Let's move forward now. So you finished the porn, and what was the black artistic scene like in LA? Like, where did you go? Excuse me. Where did you go? Where did you first meet Rudy Ray Moore?
Well, Inner City Cultural Center.
Mm-hmm.
That was the cultural hub of African Americans, Asians, and Latin. People came out of inner city like Ted Lang from the Love Boat, and what's Mr. Solo? What's the Asian guy? Captain. Oh God, how do I forget his name?
Sulu?
Star Trek.
Sulu.
Yeah, what's his name?
George Picard.
What is his name?
No, not George Picard.
What is it?
It's Pataki. That's
George Pataki.
That's it.
Pataki or whatever.
Yeah, we gotta get it.
Yeah. He came out of the inner city. You know, so many different actors that you saw over the years, and Glenn came from New York and Raising the Sun and all that, but he was major in the city. Ernie Hudson, the Black Ghostbuster, so many guys that were in the Superfly movies, and everybody in the City Cultural Center was the theater in Los Angeles. So,
and that was Jerry Jones, right? Jerry Jones was the writer there, right?
Jerry Jones, right? Exactly. Jerry Jones was doing plays at Inner City Cultural Center.
And this is where
that was the hub. Yeah, I knew Jerry. That's so funny. But yeah, I'm not going to jump ahead, because when you're talking about the Dolemite movie, everybody in the Dolemite is my name. I knew every one of those people, you know, and so my opinion of the movie is something we can get into too, but yeah, exactly. Inner City Cultural Center.
So this is where Rudy. So this is where Rudy came to find his talent, right? As the movie tells it, he came to that. Now you know what it is, the Inner City Cultural Center, to meet Jerry Jones, to ask him to write a script for him, and that's where he found most of his talent, besides the obvious, as the story goes. Is that right? So what was that scene like? There was so many creative people. Was there a snobbiness to people who were on stage versus saying, well, I don't know if I want to really go to film, because stage is so prestigious and we have to really deliver, whereas you can say cut? Was there a snobbiness to people, or were people just with it during that time in the late 60s, early 70s to get it done?
Right. Really great question. Again, actually, no, it was the theater was the thing, because there weren't opportunities for African Americans or black people in the movies back then. You know, as I was saying, it was very, very, very few people making movies. Rudy Ray Moore was, he was in a league of his own, and Jamal Tanaka financed his own movies. And again, talking about the Penitentiary series and stuff, Jamal Tanaka, when he made his movies, and this is a record that he still holds today, Jamal Tanaka holds a record in Hollywood that will never be broken. And that is, He's the only filmmaker that ever have #1 film in the box office and still be a student in school.
That's 2, right?
Okay.
One and 2, a penitentiary.
That's right. Exactly. And that record will live forever. I mean, so this guy, he was still going to school at UCLA. So him, Rudy Ray Moore were it. Melvin Van Peebles made Sweet Sweetback, but that was only one movie. He never really made any movies after that,
Well, he was really an author who a woman suggested that he should make a film, and he went on and made a film, which was the prototype of what we talk about on the show, which is the strong black man archetype that wins and rides off into the sunset in his El Dorado with the woman in tow and the riches and the booty, right? He's got it all, and he rides off. And up here right now on the screen, you see we have you alongside the Human Tornado. That was Rudy Ray Moore's second film. Before I want to get into what Rudy Ray Moore was like, but first, what movies did you work with Rudy Ray Moore on? What was the first film?
I came in after the Human Tornado. It's when I really started working with Rudy. Because
so wait a minute, wait. So let me give you your honor here, because we came off of October and Halloween, and we did. If you're not to be mentally sane as a black person, you should have black exploitation horror films in your selections playing during your Halloween parties. And Petey Wheatstraw, The Devil's Son-in-Law, is one of our top picks. I believe I had it at number 5 because not only was it funny, but the use of lighting to tell the story, especially when he's down with the devil, using the red screen. It's really hard with the red I'm losing the word for it. The red silks to make it possible for it to be sharp, but somehow that image in red is sharp, and the folklore and the storytelling of it is excellent. And we have the Human Tornado, because that's what we're reviewing tonight. And with you, if you would, we want to talk about that a little bit with you, even though you came in on Petey Wheatstraw, The Devil's Son-in-Law. So let me give you your kudos on that, because I know that you were probably instrumental in the images, angles, lighting.
Well, I'll be perfectly honest. When I came in on that, I was in awe. Okay, at that point, Rudy didn't have the respect for me as he did on the Disco Godfather and Rude and everything else we did after that. That was our first meeting, and he had people like Cliff Rockmore and Bob Wagner, who was the director and stuff back then. I was the new kid on the block. I just come from Chicago. I was just glad to be around and taking pictures, and I was a photographer. I didn't know where the relationship was going or where I was going in the film world. I had no idea. And also, to be perfectly honest, they were. I wanted to be in and around film. I was very eager to do that, but they were so ghetto. And on one side, and that part, and you got, and I went to college, and I wasn't a uppity brother or sophisticated like you had said about the theater and film and all, but I was educated, but I was from the hood, but I wasn't a ghetto guy. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
Right.
I wasn't a hood brother. So Rudy and his crowd, they were straight hood folks. They were. And then on the other side, and again, being perfectly honest, it was a lot of homosexuality.
Okay, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that, right? Okay, so let's go through this. So Rudy Ray Moore. Go ahead. Rudy Ray Moore as a person.
So anyway, I was saying, so when I first came into the organization, and I didn't bond right away. You know, it wasn't my set, and I was just comfortable taking pictures, getting my check, and going away. It was on Disco Godfather that his distributor, who was a Jewish guy, Herb Schlossberg, he recognized that I knew film. And see, when you look at Dolemite Is My Name, see that the whole crew was all these white kids, you know? And that was because there was hardly anybody black who had studied film or even thought about you could make money or you should know film and learn film. You know, so there were no black filmmakers and stuff, you know, people behind the scenes and knowing camera, knowing lighting and all of that. And Rudy's distributor on the Disco Godfather, he recognized me and recognized what I knew. And he took me to Rudy and told Rudy, this is the most professional man on your set. You know, because Rudy was giving people opportunities. And some of them didn't know what the hell they were doing, but they knew more than what Rudy did about film. You know, so once his distributor introduced me like that, it totally changed our relationship. So he started listening to me more, and I started, you know, giving more advice and different things, and that changed everything over the next 20 years. You know, we were filmmaking partners.
Thank you for that story, and thank you for pushing through with the story, right? Rudy Ray Moore as Dolemite. So what was Rudy Ray Moore like? Was he confident, or did he doubt himself?
No, a little bit of both. Rudy was confident. He was confident of what he was doing. Rudy understood. See, and this is the thing that still with Dolemite Is My Name. They did okay, but they didn't show the pain of being Rudy Ray Moore and what he went through. See, because, and again, people like Eddie Murphy and many other, not just Eddie, but before Eddie was Eddie, all of the people who, like I said, I was, prior to Rudy and I coming to understand, who were called like the uppity black people. We all looked down upon Rudy Ray Moore. Most black people who were, you know, middle class or trying to do better or come up and, you know, and back in the day, they looked down upon Rudy Ray Moore. Now, they would go home and they would listen to his records, but they wouldn't acknowledge if you were sitting in a room full of people that they listened to Rudy Ray Moore or Dolemite. You know, as Rudy used to say, no one knows where the nose goes when the nose closed. You know, because that was what it was.
That's the hypocrisy.
We were all hypocrites.
Yeah, that's I was about to say, that is the hypocrisy, because I often knew people who did certain things, like photographers. They did certain things, but they said, I can't let that out because I have to do wedding pictures, and the people wouldn't want to hire me. I was like, but this is all part of the journey and all part of what's going on. How do you express black beauty if all you see is European beauty? You go to the History Museum, you see paintings of fat white chicks. Right? You know, all through all the things, but then we don't have, and our women are the best women in the world, just my opinion. So, you know, you have to put that across and quit trying to call everything that has to do with nudity pornography, right? Yeah. So you kind of answered my second question. You kind of answered my second question, which was what was the behind the scenes like. But the next part of that question, because it was a two-part question, was he satisfied with what he was getting, or was he looking for more as far as the production side was concerned?
He was satisfied, because there was no yardstick. There was no yin and yang. There was no balance. There was nothing to compare it to. Because what Rudy was doing, nobody was doing, unless you talk about Hollywood and what Warner Brothers and the studios were doing, with the movies that they were putting, $1 million into. You had Rudy Ray Moore was making movies for, $20,000, $10,000, which was amazing. I mean, because you figure back in the day, if the studios were spending money to make say, $500,000 to $1 million on a movie like Cornbread, Earl and Me, then what Rudy was spending is $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to make his movie, and he was turning over. But the thing is, you see, and again, if Dolemite is my name, that they chose one part. They where they stop is where the real movie begins about Rudy Ray Moore. They stop at the premiere of Dolemite, which is okay because they told the story that they were trying to tell, just about how he went from making records to making movies. But the story that the public needs to know is what happened after he got a taste of that fruit, after Rudy Ray Moore made Dolemite, and then how his career went and what happened within the black community and the black movie theaters, and why guys like Rudy Ray Moore got shut out of the business. It's a lot deeper than they just stopped making movies. It was the whole thing was control, just like America, and we can get into that, the control, stopping the vote. They didn't want the black theaters, and they didn't want the black folks having opportunity to just go see this type of picture. They wanted to keep them going to see what they wanted them to see.
They wanted them to go see
control of the image.
They wanted them to go see Sounder. But anyway, look, okay.
Yeah.
So
you can't have but what you just said. You can't have the black guy getting the girl, getting the white girl, especially, and being the man, being a strong man. Those images. They had to control the image, control what we got. I mean, and it's still continuing today. If you really want to be frank about it, it's like John Singleton. As much as I love him as a person, but professionally, let's be realistic. The first movie that he made in school that he got famous with was a ghetto gang movie. About killing us and boys in the hood. And
let me push back a little bit on that, because because I've watched documentaries on this, and the people coming from out of the theater who were in that lifestyle, in that life culture,
right.
Because black people have not a monolith. We have many different cultures, and we live the similar existence. We live the same existence, being under white supremacy, racism, right? And different cultures makes us act certain ways and act out certain ways. When the people came out the theater, and how grown men who were considered gangsters crying and saying thank you for making this film, and his film did have a moral point. It's like Ice Cube. It's like NWA with Ice Cube, NWA without Ice Cube. NWA with Ice Cube. Please, Mr. Dope Man, you think you're slick, but if you get my little sister sick, I have to with your drugs, I have to pull up with my gun and shoot in your belly a 38 slug. The drug dealer dies. Right. After Cube, there's no come up. It's 100 niggas on the run, 100 niggas getting away, and all kinds of debauchery and violence happening because the message was not there. But all at the same time, when you're talking about entertainment, then you're looking for the black male to get away under the circumstances that they were put in. So it's kind of like how the NAACP guy, Julian, I forget his name, coined blaxploitation for Superfly. And actually, Superfly was a black western set in a urban. I hate saying the word urban. Let's say just in the city environment where it's majority black, right? And so, so I have to push back a little bit on that because John Singleton's, even his Snowfall, I don't know what it's going to be like now that he's passed on. It might turn into strict sensationalism and black and exploitation by the white handlers, changing it up and making it senseless in its 4th season, like they're getting ready to do American Gods and other shows. But while he was there, it had a message, and the guy saw what he did, destroyed a generation of people, and he could visualize and think about it and had fantasies about what the future would be like with generations being destroyed. So I just had to push back just a little bit on John Singleton because he was.
What you're saying makes all the sense in the world. I give you that 100%. As a matter of fact, I agree with what. I'm not arguing that point because you're right. My problem is the subject matter. Out of all the hundreds of thousands of black stories that need to be told, that can be told, drug stories and gang stories, we got to get above that. That is not our existence. That is a segment of our population, but that is not, we don't have, white people don't continuously make The Sopranos, They don't. You have plenty of many other stories showing many walks of life. That is my problem.
They just came off of hailing The Irishman, which I thought was 3 hours of some of the worst cinema I've ever seen, especially the de-aging.
I agree with you
with the de-aging process, which they should have put the balls on their head if they was gonna do that. But what I'm saying is, it's all about what the audience wants to see, right? And so does the egg come first or the chicken? Because Old Dog, Lorenz Tate was in not Boys in the Hood, but Boys in the Hood. Boys in the Hood.
Oh, okay.
Not Boys in the Hood, but the other one, Menace to Society.
Right.
The next year he came out in the Inkwell. We were sitting in the theater, and the theater was packed, and the dude was like, "What the hell is Old Dog doing?" They thought it was going to be another picture, and that Inkwell picture did not do well.
But it was a good film.
But it was, no, I didn't say it was a good film, but you have to, in Hollywood, we give the people, or in filmmaking, you give the people what they want. Is that wrong to say? Because the people have to elevate their thought process, right?
But no, you're right, but yeah, you're wrong. We don't give the people.
They give the people.
That's the thing. That's
right.
Right. And I'm not a racist when I say this, but some white guy, some Jewish guy gives the people.
Right.
But that Jewish guy, but that white guy thinks the people. That's the reason we get the drug movies and the gang movies repeatedly, because they believe that's what we like and that's what we are.
Right.
See, we're not making the decisions, which is the problem. Which is all the basketball players and the football players and the people, make billions. We're not understanding the business of the entertainment business and buying these companies and having our own company and doing stuff. We're continuously going to some guy who is not black, asking him, is it okay to tell this story? Why? It's ridiculous that it would take 15 years to make Ray Charles. To get the Ray Charles movie made. So that tells you, as long as Ray Charles has been a worldwide name, for for 50 years, people have known Ray Charles' name around the world. So if it takes 15 years for some white people to get Ray Charles' story,
Right.
But
that should tell you everything.
But that's just like with the presidential candidates, right? Whenever they're asked about a question, what are they going to do for the black community? What's their agenda? They all say one thing. What is it? Prison reform. Not all of us
people are in prison.
Exactly.
are in prison. So,
Right. Okay. Here's an
example. Perfect example. Exactly.
That point about Ray Charles in 15 years, but Aretha Franklin's coming out next year, and it was co-signed by Aretha Franklin to have it done with Jennifer Hudson. That's one of the trailers we're going to talk about later in the show. But so if the people are on their game, I kind of got to blame Ray or his handlers or people. He was good. He owned all his catalog, but he didn't. So let's drill down into this a little bit before we get back to Rudy, because this is a good discussion. I think that people need to hear this. So let's drill down into it. Okay, so let's look at gatekeeping. Right, what you're speaking on is gatekeepers, Italian, Irish, Jewish gatekeepers in Hollywood, mostly Jewish in Hollywood, right? So let's look at the black gatekeeping. Let's take Richard Pryor. He had his company. Jim Brown went and brought him and said, this Prince movie, this kid Prince is going to be hot. He's going to be good. Let's make this movie. And he couldn't see it. Warner Brothers picks it up. Now it's going into the registry as a classic in the Library of Congress now, right? Another example, Tim Reed, he owned his studio out there. It was fully production studio. The only thing I ever saw, he had plenty of shows, but some of that I wasn't interested in seeing. It was too, to me, it wasn't as racy as WKRP in Cincinnati, which wasn't his production. But the only thing I saw come out of there was Paul Mooney, one of Paul Mooney's stand up about America or the American Nightmare, something like that. And Frank's Place came out there, but we didn't really. But right, so and he would not allow people to come in there except for what he wanted to produce. Now take Tyler Perry. Now he has his studio. He has them named after different people. He's got Bad Boys coming from out of there. He's got other Hollywood films coming from out of there. He has his films coming from out of there, and he is more of the prototype of what it takes to be well-rounded in an industry that is entertainment. Would you agree with that or not agree with that, and why?
Yes, I do. Man, I love talking to you. Because you're correct, and when you say coming out of there, it's Tyler's studio, but he doesn't control the picture. They're renting a sound stage. It's different.
Right.
When Columbia or Universal or Warner Brothers just will pay $10,000 a day to Tyler to rent a sound stage to shoot the picture or rent the back lot to shoot out there with some car chases and stuff, than him having anything to do with picture or control of the picture or any involvement in the picture or financial stake in the picture. So I applaud him for having the studio, but it's different just having 6 or 8 or 10 sound stages, and then it's when Warner Brothers, when the whole Warner Brothers and United Artists, when they started on, that was about the collective, that was about the greater good, that was about the community, that was about people taking control and taking the power away from the Louis B. Mayers and the people, the studio bosses back in the day who controlled everything. Well, right now, the studio bosses are those people that you mentioned. And again, it's just like nepotism. There's nothing really wrong with nepotism except for the fact that black people don't use it. You know, that's the only thing wrong with it, because the Jews and the Italians and the Germans and the Irish and the Latinos, they use nepotism and they have no problem with it. And nepotism only becomes wrong when it comes to black people, because we have been trained with the slave mentality. We've been trained with the house nigga and the upstairs nigga not to work with the downstairs nigga, not to work with the field nigga, not to work with the nigga that's in the wagon, not to work. You know, we got that separation mentality. When if we had the mentality, and that's what it really comes down to, is getting that slave out of our genetics. You know, that slavery, that 400 years that was buggy whipped into our mindset of not being able to do nothing together. It's a very, very perfect example. When I first got the job at Capitol Records and the head of production, when I looked at the people who were making music videos, right, on the country western music videos, it was good old boys, and they would show up on Harley Davidsons and horses. On the rock and roll music videos, you know, the crew was all these guys with tattoos on driving, you know, hot rods and riding Harley Davidsons, you know. And then when it came to the black music videos, the crew would show up, and it was a combination of the country western crew and the rock and roll crew. There were no black crews. So I made it a point to start hiring black people. Many of the people today in the business got their start from makeup to Will Smith makeup artist, a whole bunch of people doing crew work, because I insisted on having black crews. And you know, the problem today and it is changing. I heard just this recent Jamie Foxx movie, Michael B. Jordan, he insisted for 50% of the crew. But the thing is, for when Denzel, Morgan Freeman, Will Smith, and all the rest of these guys who have become megastars because of the black community support. It wasn't some white guy, Jewish guy, or Italian guy that all of a sudden said, hey, I'm going to start making black movie stars. No, it was because the community, we supported them. And they used to say, well, no, a black actor can't carry a movie overseas. Nobody would want to see him. So the only people that were going to see him was us. And now these guys are big, and they got the production companies and managers and all this stuff, and they don't care. They will go and be the star of the movie, and there will be 300 jobs on that movie when you see the credits roll at the end of the movie. 300 jobs. 10 of them are black people. That's wrong. That's our fault. It's not the Jews' fault. It's not Italians' fault. It's not German's fault. It's not Latin's fault. It is our fault as a people, because we got that slave mentality genetic gene in our mind that keep us from wanting to be. When you mentioned the Irishman, if you look at the credits on the Irishman, I can, without even looking at them, I can tell you that 95% of the crew on the Irishman were Italian. I know that because Scorsese has no problem with working with Tony and Joey and Danny. Come on over here. What are you gonna do? Yeah, get the phone camera. Come on.
Let me push this one thing before we move on to other things. Like me, I'm a filmmaker myself, and I know how to make film. I know about lighting. I know about, story structure, film grammar, the through line of the story, the plot, everything, right? But when I'm on a set, I play my position. Many times we find ourselves working with people, whereas the Italian people or the Jewish people or the Irish people, they will play their positions and play their role. They could be as cutthroat as they want to be, but they won't be cutthroat to the person that's giving them the opportunity. What we find many times as black people, depending on education of the people who we are trying to employ or trying to work on a film that will get back end royalties. Mm-hmm. We find that the people want to be the chief and not be the Braves. You know what I mean? They want to be Chief Wahoo and not be the Braves. And so we find ourselves being, how could I say, sabotaged. Or if you're doing something, then somebody else wants to come up and say, oh, I do that too. And then next thing you know, they're pulling talent away that could work to pull this. So these are the two things that we see within our group of people. Is such a wretched, not a ratchet, but a wretched way of existing.
Exactly. And you know what that is? Our mom and dad used to say, it's crabs in a barrel. Yeah. Is what it is. It's clawing, trying to claw on top of each other, trying to be on top of the heap. And you're right, I understand. And the other thing is circumvention. You know, I understand what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you can have a client that's backing you, that's putting your $100,000 behind you to make this movie, and then you bring in a bunch of other brothers to work with you, and next thing you know, Reggie is time to talk to your money people about, hey, you know, I do this too. And I get that, correct?
And let me add this. Thus and so, when this takes place, then as the person like a Denzel or a Morgan Freeman who was on the Electric Company, I know he was trying to work with the blacks and the Latinos because that's what Electric Company was. Zuma, zuma, zoom. But anyway, just a little break because Morgan Freeman was cool on that show. He was very articulate. But anyway, look. But then you find that as the person you get fed up and you say, I'm just going to work with the people who I can work with. Like Kevin Hart's documentary, for instance, he has his core group around him, but the people, his publicist is white. One person that's in his organization is Asian. He does have a couple of black women in his organization, but he has a multicultural because he's probably tried to work and he's always had the knife in his back, so to speak. So I mean, I try to walk in myself looking at the people and what kind of situations I've found myself in trying to work with my own and continuing to work with my own. And sometimes your own makes it hard and then you say, I'm just going to work with whoever is cool.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, but again, if you want to change it on the big picture, are we saying that there aren't people of our own who can't? Because why is it possible for all Latins, for me to go on Latin movies and I'm the only black and then everybody else is Latin? I go on many white movies, I'm the only black person because I own my equipment and what I know and my resume and they respect me. But I'm the only black person there. They have no problem with it. And the same thing with Italians. And the same thing with Germans. And I just came off the shoots for veterans and stuff in Joshua Tree with people from Turkey. And there's nobody that, you know, everybody can seem to find somebody of their own nationality or whatever ethnic group to fit positions, except for us. We can't find nobody.
Well, you know, with the Latinos, because we're in Las Vegas. We're in Las Vegas, and let me tell you something. You're talking about crabs in a bucket, which is a created condition because they're all put in this bucket together. But when they're in the ocean, they don't try to climb over each other, but they're put in this bucket. So we're put in this system of white supremacy, right? So that's an artificial situation that happens, and so I look at that. But the Latinos, when you go on the set, look at and see how many light-skinned Latinos there are versus dark-skinned Latinos. Because I tell you, Latinos are at each other's throat. Some of them think that they are Spanish. They may be Mexican, but some of them think that they are Spanish from Spain. And that light-skinned, dark-skinned thing is, so when you go on the
Right.
set, you look at them and say, well, Doc, all they got is light skin, and they got the dark skin one sweeping up. I mean, so it's there, but so it just looks like it's regular. And the same thing with the Italians; they have their thing. The Italians don't necessarily like the gangster situation. The Sicilians don't like the Italians, and you can't be in the mob if you weren't Sicilian, which is a mixed race from Hannibal coming in and teaching them how to raise oranges, and also changing them from blonde hair, blue eyed to olive complexion, right? So it's all it's all in the concept, and it's all a lie to make us feel that we are somewhat inferior not to be able to work. What I'm saying to you about the people who are on top that you spoke of, they may just be fed up. But there is a whole new generation like yourself. Like when I watch, like we're going to show as we get to talking about you, we're going to take this whole next second hour to go ahead and talk about, we've got 39 minutes left, but we're going to go ahead and talk about it and keep the show extended and go on and talk about all the other topics we're going to talk about, because this is a great conversation. But the whole thing with you and what you did and the imagery that you brought, we're going to show all that. You worked with black people, so it's not always a negative thing, but all at the same time, people are jogging for position because we're in this artificial bucket. So let's move on. We're going to table that for a minute, because we need to get together and have a sit down on film where we can really hatch this out, like a round table or something. But let's get back to Rudy real quick. I enjoy this conversation. How was the road?
Me too. I do want to tell you, your level of understanding is to be commended. That's all I gotta say. I mean, we can go, because you got a lot of information yourself, and everybody listening to this show, your host is knowledgeable. He's an intelligent. I mean, just the whole analogy and the explanation of my crabs in a barrel statement says so much. Somebody like me, because it is. You said crabs in that barrel because they've been put in that situation. That's so insightful. Okay, so I will continue later, but I gotta tell you, that says that you're seeing way bigger, and you're seeing the big picture, and I appreciate that, and I love that. So.
Oh, I thank you for that. I can smell my magnolias while I'm not vertical, but I'm vertical and not horizontal. I thank you for that. Now, you just said that I'm one of the people one of the most dangerous people on the planet. I'm an educated black man.
Yeah.
As yourself, sir. As yourself.
No doubt about it.
Okay, so how was the road for Rudy Ray Moore in the end? How was the road? In the end, his upper age. This is what when you said that they needed to talk about what it was like after that. I want to talk about what it was like in his upper age when it got a struggle.
It was hard because, again, see, we don't. The white community will never, cinema community will never let you forget Charlie Chaplin. Yeah. They will never let you forget W.C. Fields. And they will never let you forget, these artists who did. But we as a people, no one embraced Rudy Ray Moore. Nobody did. Until now, Eddie could make some money off of it. That's the reason that I did the interview with the Comedy Hype Show. They asked me because Eddie really upset me because he had to throw Rudy Ray Moore, who he claimed to, admire and love, and the reason he was doing his story, he had to throw him under the bus, and it was so unnecessary to sell the movie. He lied, saying, when you asked me about the later years of Rudy, Eddie went on Jimmy Kimmel and said he asked Rudy Ray Moore about making his life story, making his movie. And Rudy said no. I want to go on the road with you. So let me clarify, because it answers your question. In the latter stage of Rudy Ray Moore's life, when Eddie Murphy said he went to him to ask him that, Rudy Ray Moore was living in a Roachville apartment in Compton, okay, in the suburbs of LA, before he moved to Vegas eventually. But now, let me ask you, would a person who was a big movie star once upon a time in his life, if the biggest movie star today came to you and said, I want to do your life story and put your name up in lights and let everybody know about what you did and your contribution, and I'm going to pay you $1 million, and you're living in a Roachville apartment in Compton, would you say no to that?
Let me, because I heard that statement too, and so let's take a moment on this real quick, right, about it, right? Because I watched a lot of documentaries on that, and I was like, what is he talking about? And we even discussed that on this show, right? It's all in what a person hears, right? It's all in what the person is hearing and what they're distracted by. It's like, like a person would come to me, like I remember my wife was the third person standing there, so she heard it, and she came in and told me about a DJ, because back because I owned a record store for 15 years, and I actually met Rudy Ray Moore once when I was selling tickets for his show that he was doing in Cleveland, Ohio, closer to the end, right? And but so that's just a little segue there. But the person was standing there and they were talking to me. Now, my mind was on taking in their product on consignment, right? Their thought process was, okay, I'm bringing this in. You're the person who put out the first double mix CD in Cleveland, and I'm coming in bringing my product. And I'm saying, maybe we can work together. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, let me just take in the product, right? And I'm taking in the product. I'm not hearing what they're saying because I'm about the business of what I'm in. I have that particular business hat on. So when Eddie Murphy came to him, and on the other side, on the opposite side of the conversation, Rudy, though not wanting to say, no, I don't want to do that, I want to go out on the road with you, he was thinking about the popular. This is me just listening to it and looking and walking in both people's shoes. He's listening to Eddie, and he says Eddie is the biggest star and I would like to be on the stage. So he wasn't actually saying no to being in the film, but he was saying, well, I want to go out on tour with you, right? So he was offering a combo 2 for 1, and Eddie only heard, no, I want to go out for a tour with you. And it's kind of like a patois, if you're like a Jamaican patois or a black American patois, where you throw in something else but you don't finish the sentence to say, yeah, we can do the film, absolutely. He just said, no, I want to go out on tour with you, right? And so no doesn't mean no like no, it means no also. That's what it means. It means when we say no, I want to do this, it means no also, let's do this. But we leave the also out and we use the word no as also. Also, we can do this. So when he was hearing it, as he goes through, he said no. All he wanted to do was do it too. And Eddie Murphy, depending on what he was thinking about, he genuinely believes that. And Rudy Ray Moore was saying, no, meaning also we can do this stand up because you're big and I would like to get my type of club comedy across the United States on the stage that you can provide for me. And so that's where the disconnect was. Go ahead.
Right. And what you're saying truly makes sense. But the only caveat to that is that if Eddie Murphy asked Rudy Ray Moore about anything film related, he would jump all over it. He would not let Eddie walk another step get in a car, walk off into another room or anything because Rudy Ray Moore, movie star, is what he was, what he loved, it, what he wanted to become again. He wanted his name up in lights. The road wasn't, Rudy was doing the chicken circus. Being on stage with Eddie was not as important to Rudy as being in one of Eddie's movies. See, if Eddie had said, he was like, no, don't do my story. Let me be in, put me in one of your movies like so-and-so, Distinguished Gentleman, Harlem Nights, If Eddie had said that might have flew. But to say that Rudy said no to him making his life story, because I spent too many days on the road, sitting in Rudy's apartment, sitting in my place, going different places in the back of the Cadillac someplace, and in the green room and nightclubs and stuff, and him asking me, what has Eddie got against me? How come, it's like, just like why nobody would have Rudy on TV. There's certain things that I know that Rudy Ray Moore wanted, man, more than anything in the world.
Maybe Rudy.
Him on our video.
Go ahead, because I was just about to say Arsenio, but I was saying maybe Rudy was just too good. Maybe what he did and his ability and his tour de force, because I set up, because we used to rent his movies on VHS from Xenon, and we used to rent his movies out, and we used to play them in the store, and people would buy them on VHS, and then it turned to DVD, and I got to meet the man, and when I watched the story, I realized that he worked in a record store. So when he sat down there, he was sitting down there in the front, and he was telling different stories, and he told me, you have a nice store. And then it all clicked to me. I said he worked in a record store, so he would know what it was. Though we didn't have vinyl anymore, we had cassettes and CDs and DVDs. But he said you have a nice store, and we sat there and talked. And back then, I didn't have my camera game on, or we would have had something to really remember. But we sat there and chopped it up. He talked about Cleveland. He talked about Caledonia, how she taught him timing and all that. And Caledonia, she was, people say, as the story goes, she was 90 years old, still dancing. She had the body or whatever. That's an exaggeration. But under the lights, you couldn't tell. But when she came off the stage, her face told her age. And so, these different stories that he was telling, and as it's been told to me, B.B. King came to Cleveland a lot, and that song Caledonia, it was made about her, or whenever time, or if he wasn't the original author, it was made about her. So it's all these different stories that he was telling, and he was just a nice person and open to tell and want his story told, right? And so
right.
It's just maybe he was too good and they feared him. And maybe that's what it was. Because fear can cause people to do crazy things. Fear can either have them stand in, or they can run. They can stand in and fight, or they can run. So maybe they were afraid of him.
So like what, intimidated?
They were intimidated. They were afraid that once he got in, he was going to take it over, because he knew how to make film. He did it all himself. I once sat on a panel with a couple of different artists who came through the system of the record labels. And when I was talking about packaging and finding out the distribution rights, one of them was honest, and they said, I never knew anything of what Crazy D was talking about, because everything was done for us. There's two different types of people that you're talking about here. Rudy Ray Moore is a self-made man. Mm-hmm. The other people are pushed by the machine. So would it be more that they were intimidated by him, that they feared his power if he got in?
Oh, I don't think. I think again it comes back to what you said, that hypocriteness, that it was everyone looked down on Rudy. See, no one looked at him as we look at him today. It was even when he was sitting in your store
Mm-hmm.
back in those days,
Mm-hmm.
the industry and the artists, the black artists, actors, the few people who were actually actively making movies, they didn't give Rudy Ray Moore the respect. If what you're saying would give them what? If being fear of him would be giving them too much credit. They didn't have enough respect for Rudy to be a fear of him because they didn't understand what he knew. I did. I learned. I know what he knew. It's people like because you know that part of the industry and the business. And again, you're right. Eddie's never had to know that part. Eddie came in. He just does his part to show up. That's why amongst actors, that's why with that whole thing that when I spoke about Eddie's statement, so many people in Hollywood call me and contact me, and they know the truth, and they say because Eddie's never done anything for anybody, black, because he's always been surrounded in that comfort factor of white people, which that's his life. That's what he knows. It's not a good or bad thing. It's just the reality.
Okay, let me pause right. Let me pause right there. Do you have a pencil and paper? Because I want you to take this alternative number down. Because we have 23 minutes, and I want to get through this full interview with you to let everybody know about you. Because we're coming through Rudy, but we got kind of sidetracked on some good topics, and we wanted to get that in. But the number is 702-793-7757. That's 702-793-7757. Once we're disconnected, if you could call back on that line and we'll be able to continue because we have 23 minutes left and I want to get all this in because this is a document and this is our story here put across to the people. So we're going to table that right there too because that's a larger discussion because for me, looking at it and looking at how the people loved Rudy Ray Moore, loved his films, and me coming from a retail background and selling the items through from Xenon, they loved him. The people loved him. The hip hoppers loved him. The rappers loved him. And so I think that, from my opinion, that they were afraid of Rudy Ray Moore. Not so much that and they may have disrespected him because they feared him, but I believe that they feared him because this man knew something that they didn't know, and instead of wanting to pick up on the knowledge, they wanted to keep him out of the industry. So here's the next question about Rudy. From the experience of Rudy, what can you tell those who want to be in entertainment about preparing for the end, for passing over to the other side? What can you say from the experience of actually being there? What can you say to the people who one day who want to be in entertainment? There is no real health care necessarily unless you're buying it yourself. There is no security net from the record label because after 10 years you're like a free agent. You're just like football or basketball. You're going to have to go on your own. Hopefully you made it. Hopefully you got enough money to do that. What can you say about his ending days to people who want to be in entertainment about preparing for the end?
Have your legal together. Look out for your family. If you don't have enough sense to look out for yourself, have someone around you that understands the legal aspects of entertainment and listen to them, because it's just a known fact with black artists from the 20s till now 2020. They get so caught up in the creative that they can read music and tell you all of these lyrics and tell you how a story backwards and forwards and sing a song, and they can play 5 different instruments. But if you don't have your legal life together, then it's going to end up sad for your family.
So have the legal together.
Have your legal stuff together. Creativity, that's all fine and good. That's the world we live in. That's what we are. That's where the passion is at. But when it comes to the end, when you are not here anymore, as the Reverend would say at one funeral I went to some years back, I'll never forget it. He said, when you're alive, people gonna lie on you. When you're dead, they're gonna lie for you. They're gonna lie about you. Okay? And so the only thing that's gonna separate those lies from the truth is what the legal documents say.
What the legal documents say. Okay, so here we go.
Yeah.
We're reviewing Human Tornado tonight, so we're gonna go through a little description of it. Then I have a question for you about it, even though you weren't on it, but we have a question about it. We find Dolemite, Rudy Ray Moore, headed to Los Angeles to help Queen Bee, Lady Reed, fight off a gangster, Calvaletti, Herb Graham, who sees his nightclub business failing due to the popularity of Queen Bee's club. It's a familiar, similar story to the original Dolemite. It includes plenty of kung fu action featuring Howard Jackson, world karate champ, and Hurricane Annie, Gloria Delaney, the first transsexual known to be on screen. And it finds Dolemite meeting up again with Detective Pistol Pete Blakely, Jerry Jones, writer of both Dolemite and Human Tornado. This is another one of our films that we're talking about, the strong black man archetype. He also introduces the world to Ernie Hudson, who is introduced in the film portraying the character Bo Lewis Hudson as the full name, but Bo for the nickname. You first met at the Community Arts Center. How far along was Rudy in making this particular film, or starting on P.D. Wheatstraw, The Devil's Son-in-Law? How far along was he?
They were already written. All that was already done.
Okay.
I had no input. I wish I had, but those are classics, man. That's straight Dolemite. That was Rudy. See, Rudy had come into his own. I mean, we discussed that for many, over the years, many times. But he had come into his own, and that's why, too, see, still today, the one thing that Rudy later, he started using, he became, and again, we come back to this thing, being pro-black with his employment, because what he didn't like was when he had to use the white crews, how they looked down upon him. Mm-hmm. He called it, this uppity, what was it,
condescending.
I can't think of what Rudy used to say, but
condescending.
It was condescending, but Rudy didn't use that word, but it was, it was just like he didn't like the way that they thought that they were better than him, and which was true, which is true still today. I mean, with the same situation that you were describing, which I've been there and I understand that and I realize it, but it is true, but it's always going to be. And again, we'll continue the conversation because there's so much, that they get away with that we don't. And so, but everything you said is valid too. See, so it's really interesting. But we'll talk. But yes.
Yeah, because you tell a story about pulling up with your truck with all the equipment on it, the C-stands and the lighting and all that, and how the guy in the lunchroom was saying, how did he get that truck? Is it possible?
Oh yeah.
Is it possible, looking at, because I listened to the story and I'm like, is it possible that he, as a Caucasian man who never really worked hard for anything, and follow me in what I'm saying here on this, the people of invention are the ones who actually do the work, and the ones who sit around and watch the people do the work.
Right.
They really have no culture in it. So most of the inventions, the ironing board, the tone arm apparatus, etc., the air conditioning, the refrigerator, the freezer, I mean all the traffic light, the open heart surgery, all of that is made by people who had to actually live life through work. How much of that, of him saying that, how could he get that truck, is because in his minuscule existence of actually having to figure out how to work to get what you want, versus just being someone who is born to something or living in this particular system that we're in. How much of that is he just can't figure out how you could do that because he has no concept, he's inept on how to go about doing that? How much of that is that more than it is jealousy, but then it becomes jealousy because I can't figure out how he could do that because I wouldn't be able to do that.
Right. Well, I think it's a combination. Because one, they you know, it's not that many. I mean, it's kind of like when someone sees of that same mentality, let's say a gymnast, a white gymnast, sees a Simone Biles do what she does, and it's just mind-boggling to them because, one, where did this little black chick learn about gymnastics? Number one, they don't. This ain't what they do. And then two, she's the best. She's doing shit that I ain't never even could imagine. So the racist is where it started. The racism started with just, well, somebody black is doing this. But then the fact that you take it so far, the fact that you not only are you doing it, but you know more than they do, and you're better at it, and you're doing shit that they can't even imagine doing. It's like, so I just know where it starts, and it starts is racism, and that's okay because we can't spend time thinking about the racism. We know America has been built on racism. That's why I say what we have to do, the only option we have is to embrace our own, because the racism is not going to go away, and the racism is going to be there. See, again, it's not that it's a problem having a bunch of white people on your set. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The problem is those white people aren't going to have you on their set.
Yep.
That's right.
See,
yep.
That's the problem. It's like, because, so we have to understand that if we don't, as our numbers increase, if we don't get over that mentality that's separating us, you see, that's where we have to put our energy in. It's a whole bunch of reasons why. Because the things that you said are very valid. And those are valid reasons why. But where our energy has to go into is overcoming and changing it. And letting everybody understand those valid reasons. And we have to eliminate that. We have to address it amongst each other. We have to voice it. We have to stand up. That's why many people will tell you about Foster. They say, the best thing about Foster is he's going to tell you the truth. They say the worst thing about Foster is he's going to tell you the truth. Because I'm not going to bite my tongue if somebody does something, as you were talking about, circumvention. Somebody's going to go around you. Somebody's going to, for someone comes and they start handing out business cards on your set with your people. And I mean, I do a lot of commercial stuff, and that's a dog-eat-dog business, and it's hard to get clients, and it's a whole bunch of stuff. But you hire people, and they come on your set, and they start handing out their business cards to your clients, and then to your client's clients. That's just wrong. And so you have to voice that. You can't just let them do it, and But what I do now is I email. No wearing of other companies' T-shirts and outerwear and stuff. You wear T-shirts and things of that nature with no logos on them, and there's no handing out business cards for talking to clients. I had brothers come on and big commercial stuff and these shoes for custom tennis shoes and stuff that cost $700, and the client brings 20 pair of them, and then all of a sudden a pair of shoes is missing at the end of the night. I mean, you name it. I've been there with brothers, and a lot of them are in the union and stuff now because of me getting them, trained and doing things, and they will never mention, well, when I sold something on one of Foster's shows, and then he busted me, and I had to take it back to the people, and embarrassed the hell out of me, and Foster goes, I know what you're saying. It's a lot of things. We have issues, but we have to address them and overcome them, and to make us better, because it's not going to change. They're not, the racism, the Italians aren't going to ever start having 50% black crews. It's not going to happen. The Jews aren't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. And it ain't going to happen with the Latinos. Now, where it did happen, in Hollywood, where I've seen it over the last 20 years or so, the biggest change, the biggest change that shows you have to stand with your own. It's been in the gay and lesbian community.
Okay, and
they have taken Hollywood over
by storm. Okay, so this leads right into my next question, right? The Human Tornado has many sexual themes within it. Was Rudy exploring his sexuality on the film, especially that sequence, that fantasy sequence by the woman, the Calavetti wife, when he shows her the picture, and then it shows the big muscle men, and people from reading and documentary watching, you find out that the muscle men magazines were a calling card for homosexuals back then, and having the muscle men in there. Was he expressing, because I noticed a couple of different sexual themes running through there, and he was kind of opening that door, especially having the first transsexual in film, ever on film. Go ahead.
Let there be no mistake about it, okay? Rudy Ray Moore was gay probably 85% of his life. I don't know what was happening with him when he was in the Army. We never discussed that. But Rudy always liked men. Mm-hmm. He was gay from day one to the last day of his life. Mm-hmm. He didn't flaunt it because, you can't, about, gay crime, what do they call it?
Gay bashing. Gay bashing.
Yeah, gay bashing and stuff now today in 2019. Imagine in 1979, 1980, 1977, playing black nightclubs and leaving at 2, 3 o'clock, at 4 o'clock in the morning with $1,000 in your pocket and all, you couldn't do that. And he's talking about my dick is long and hard as stone and all this and his pussy this and then a pussy was that. He's all man, and he's talking, his whole act is about sexual prowess. He couldn't flaunt being gay. So it was what the kids call it now on the down low.
But what I'm getting to in the movie was that he was pushing these themes that usually wouldn't be in the black community, and within the Human Tornado, he was pushing that through, and people were actually watching that, and I don't know, I'm not trying to say that he was trying to signal to people, but he was opening up. He was opening up to the people, letting them into his psyche a little bit with the imagery he was using.
Yes and no. It was, he wasn't, it wasn't with a whole bunch of thought, but everything that really did was played towards women and men. You know, women, I mean, the whole Cavaletti wife and all that stuff was speaking more to a white woman wanting a black man than it was the whole, what you're saying, that's the subtext. That's what people behind the scenes who would know Rudy it was a twofer. You know, it's like, yes, it was speaking to his reality, but he was speaking to the time that we were living in at that time with white women and black men. You know, that was taboo. You know, it was in the 70s is when white women got the freedom to have the big black pump. You know, it was, before that, it was totally taboo. You know, the 60s is when everybody started free love and women started burning their bras in the 70s and they could do what they want and all that kind of stuff. So, yes, Rudy was gay and he was, you know, he was always on the line, but it was always in the movies. It was straight sexual stuff. The people who knew Rudy around the country. See, again, he was a comedian, and you talked about the record store. Rudy went to many, many, many cities around the country. So there was a subculture who knew Rudy in every city. And as you know, as in everything, you know, there's been groupies, right? Since the beginning of music and stardom and movies and all that stuff. So in every city, Rudy knew people, and there was a subculture around the country who knew Rudy and what Rudy was about himself. You know, there ain't a whole bunch of women around the country that can talk about they were sleeping with Rudy Ray Moore. You know, but Rudy knew the places. Perfect example. Here we go. The Green Book. The Green.
Okay, I got you.
Perfect example. The Green Book. Imagine that they could make instead of classical music, you talking comedy. That was Rudy Ray Moore. Same characters, even the way that flamboyant lifestyle. You know, when you hear Rudy talk, he has ghetto sophistication.
You know, that was funny. It was funny because it was a comedian from Cleveland that had moved out to L.A. And he had come back and he was telling a story. Well, he had come back just to visit because he still lives out there today. He's in the industry. And he talked about how he saw Rudy Ray Moore and he saw something that happened. And he said, did you know that Rudy Ray Moore is gay? And I looked at him and I said, you could watch the movies or look at the photos and look at the eyelashes and the makeup and tell that Rudy Ray Moore was gay. And big deal. It doesn't make a difference about what his sexuality was. It was about his ability to put across a story. Right? And so that's what, you know what, we got a minute and 15, we got a minute and 10 seconds left on the line. I'm going to disconnect with you, and could you call me back at the 702-793-7757 so we can continue? All right?
Okay.
So I'm going to disconnect you.
702-793-7757. All right.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so we're going to wait for his phone call to come in. This is such a in-depth piece that we need to keep it rolling, right? And so as soon as he calls in, I'm going to end this call right here. It's going to say, thank you for that, right?
Yeah.
And I want to wait for the phone call to come in. So, people, for those who have been listening, you've been listening to. Let me open the line here. Hello, are you on the line?
Yes.
Okay, we're back with you. For those who have been listening on Blog Talk and watching us on Facebook and YouTube, we're interviewing with Foster V. Corridor, and we are getting ready to sign off of Blog Talk, and we're going to keep the interview going. All right, so we end that. I just want to say thanks for doing that. All right, here we are, people. All right, so let me end the episode. There we go. I'm just going to say thank you for listening to Blog Talk. All right. So we're back with you now, and thank you for taking this extended time, because this is 2 hours, but we got to get all this in, because this is our story, and the information that you're putting across for the youth is invaluable for the upcoming filmmakers, and every little bit that you say, just the nuggets, they can go in there and dig in and figure out and come across, because I have some in-depth questions about you. We're getting through Rudy, but we're getting ready to go to the next level, which is, what was the first gig you landed after leaving Rudy Ray Moore?
Well, that's interesting, because I never really left Rudy, but our relationship over the 25 years was ongoing. So as I learned with Rudy in the early years when there weren't opportunities, I started working on other movies, and I went to Capitol Records, and I started Blackbird Films, the commercial production company.
Yeah, we're coming to that.
All the time I was working with Rudy, off and on, because when we weren't making a movie or taking a movie out on the road, four-walling it, Rudy would be playing comedy clubs around the country, raising money to make movies. So our relationship, was like so many years where I never really, there was not an end point, because at the same time I was managing Wilt Chamberlain also. As much, and again, these two guys were such mega artists and mega stars and mega human beings that working with them was different, because Wilt and I would travel the country and the world, and if I wasn't with him, then I would be with Rudy. And then if I weren't with either one of them, I would be working on a movie. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't any real, end point and doing something else.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Capitol Records, you were the director of production, not just black production, not just the Jamaican reggae music production of videos. You produced all of the videos as the director of video production. What did you learn from working in Capitol Records? What did you learn?
That's a great question. What I learned at Capitol, I guess it's a couple of things. Again, we have to look at the times, going on the historical thing at that time. I learned how, again, the racistness of the film business, because, as I said before, there weren't any of us, and they didn't want to allow it, and they didn't think that you guys could do it, but on the other side of the camera, and behind the camera, so that time was a different time. So what I learned was we needed to have more people of color involved in the industry. Mm-hmm. What I learned and another area was how to spend film money, how film money is spent, how the different areas that film require money, how to steal money making movies, how to save money making movies, whether it's a commercial or a music video or a motion picture. You know, there's a lot of money, and it's not how much money you have as much as it is you and the money that you have.
Mm-hmm. And so then you move on and you make Blackbird Films. You create the Blackbird Films company. You did commercials.
Blackbird actually came.
Go ahead.
Blackbird came before Capital, actually.
Oh, did it? Okay. I'm just looking at the way the bio played. But anyway, so you had commercials for McDonald's. You even did lotto commercials. Within a montage sequence on Nat King Cole you produced, it opens with the measure of a man is not only the life he lives, but the legacy he leaves behind. Is that something you're cognizant of while you're producing your film work?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I'm cognizant of every day, actually, of my life. I live by that. That's how come it ended up at the beginning of that Nat King Cole piece. Because, you know, it's what you do is what people gonna remember you by. You know, I mean, that could take me into, I don't want to get off the subject because that, you know, that's a life thing that you just asked about right there. And I've been close to death 3 times in my life.
Oh, okay.
And the same 3 things came to me each time. When death was on the doorstep, when I could smell it and taste it and feel it in that moment. And so that's why I say that about those words that are at the beginning of that King Cole piece, because, you know, the first thing that comes to you when you're about to die, and this is my experience, but I've had it 3 times, so I believe it, most of ours, except for most people, don't have the opportunity to stare death in the face and live through it. Mm-hmm. So it's usually too late. You know, we only come that way one time and it's too late. But the first thing when death is upon you is, I wish I could say goodbye to my mom. You know, and this is my experience. I don't know if everybody, but this is what I believe everybody has the same experiences. Right? And now, again, I've had it 3 times, so now I live every day I'm ready to go when death does come, because my mom is passed now, and I know I'll be going to see her, so I'll be at peace with that part of it. You know, the second thing that comes to you, and this all happens within seconds, was, did I do something with my life and take advantage of being able to walk and talk and read and write and get up every day, or did I procrastinate? And did I make excuses in my life? Did I say, oh, the white man won't let me, or the black man this, and I'm too short, I'm too tall, I'm too bald, I can't do this, I can't do that, the Mexicans got all the jobs. Did I make excuses, or did I wake up every day and take advantage of life? You know, did I procrastinate? And did I do something with my life, or did not? And so I live, again, every day. I wake up and I try to maximize on that day. I don't try to procrastinate, talk about what I'm going to do. I do it, you know, and that's because that's a sad person that you have to die and realize you did not take full advantage of being alive while you were breathing, while you had choices. You made choices to procrastinate about stuff. You talked about what you're going to do, and you didn't do stuff. So That was the second thing. And the third thing is, did I do anything for anybody other than myself while I was alive? Will anybody remember me for doing anything for anybody other than me? You know, it's basically where you are Scrooge. You know, that whole, it's the wonderful life, that's real. That's somebody that has been on death's doorstep. Because when your life is running out of you and you're meeting your maker, you know, you gotta look yourself, you can't lie to yourself. When people talk about, you know, meeting God and that judgment day, well, judgment is looking in the mirror. Because when you're about to die, you can't lie to yourself. It's all truth. It's hardcore truth. And, you know, if you have to say to yourself that you never did anything for anybody else and you was just greedy and selfish and you lived for you and you took and never gave, you're going to die a sad person. You're going to be a sad ass. And so those are the three things that when I wake up every day and everything that I do in my existence with those three things in mind, you know, it's like I try to take advantage of life and I try to help other people, man. And I know it sounds really corny and really basic, but that's what life comes down to at the end of the day is, you know, are you doing anything for anybody other than yourself? And are you taking advantage of this life or are you wasting it? You know? So.
Yes, that is the truth. For those just tuning in, we are talking to Foster V. Cordor. He is a filmmaker, director, electrician on sets. For those who don't know how important the electrician is on the set, maybe we'll talk about that for a little bit. But other than that, producer, director, writer, he makes it happen. And right now behind us is a montage of his work. You can see the different video work that he does from off of his reel. You see BB King, you see Disney, you see music videos, you see all of this work done, and you can see the angles that he uses to tell these stories and the ability and the film grammar to tell the story using lighting. Everything on there is purposefully done. It is a beautiful images that he is producing. And my next question for you, with all of the production that you have done, is it better to be in the corporation or is it better to be an independent?
Wow. That's an interesting question. You good. I gotta commend you on your show. You've been doing this a long time. You've learned a lot. You're a very intelligent guy from your questions. And to answer that, I say you should love what you're doing first, and then it doesn't matter. And I'm really glad you asked that, actually, because the answer is a lot deeper than the surface. Oh, you be in the union, or oh no, you be independent. The thing is, it's twofold. You gotta love what you do. Live for the art. You know, if you love filmmaking, then just do it, and it will all work itself out. Just do it, live it, breathe it, eat it, sleep it, drink it. Be a filmmaker, be involved in film, learn the craft, study, and whether you end up in the union or whether you end up independent, or you it's the love of the art. It should be. It's just like another thing. Okay, when you talk about filmmaking, right? One of the bad things that's happening right now in the industry is with these film schools. There's film schools popping up everywhere. They're teaching kids to ask people to work for free. That's bad. Don't ask anybody to do anything for free. because it's all karma and it's universal. You know, it's like people who steal. People will lie to people on their crews to get their movies made. You can't produce a movie and lie to people about you don't have any money and you do have money and not try to pay these people and try to cheat these people and then think that same karma is not going to follow you when you're trying to sell your product. When you expect, how can you cheat people on the front end and expect the distributor not to cheat you on the back end?
You know, that's
You know,
what I.
how can
That's what they teach in film school. That the producer is the person that goes out there and tries to get everything for free, location,
Right.
all that
Right.
location, right? And what I always said was, you know, that I would tell people that, and I still work this with my people. I say I shoot it, and then on the tail end, when there's money made, then you get the basic percentage that we agree to. Is there something wrong with that? Because back end is better than, you know.
Right, fair exchange is no robbery. See, but the karma is when you again, like I was talking about death. You know, you can't lie to yourself at the end of the day. You know, when Judgment Day comes, you all of the stuff that you've done in your life, the lying, the cheating, the stealing, the hurting people. All of that will flash in front of your eyes and in your mind within seconds, within hundreds of seconds. It's mind-boggling. I can't even tell you how that's why it's so frightening, because when you have to face yourself, when you have to face the truth about who you are as a human being, if you haven't been living right, it's a scary thing. And there would be a terrifying way to have to leave here when you land on the sidewalk and the blood is running out of you, or you're in that operating room and surgery, or you know, the plane is going down, or whatever, however we all meet and are ending. You're sitting in the bed, you're surrounded by your family at home, and it's your time. At the end of your life, the truth of how you live it, you have to deal with that. And it's real. So you're better off living every day like that's your last day and understanding. So with filmmaking, if you are living and you're stealing from people, if you're telling people, you know you have a budget and you're trying to not pay people, that's one. Deferring money and having legitimate contracts and paying people on the back end. See, there's nothing wrong. If somebody takes a back end deal and they can afford to work and not be paid up front, or a location is kind of different, because a location somebody has, that's not taking money out of their pocket. I know very few crew people can afford to go to work on somebody's movie for weeks, 3 weeks to a month, without bringing home a check, because everybody has bills and gas money and groceries and babysitters and tuition and all of the rest. So it's the people who, and there's several filmmakers, again, in this new crop of filmmakers, which is disgusting for people to, I've seen guys making movies and they've run out of money on Monday and they will try to keep people working until Friday, without telling them that they've run out of money. And because one of their investors didn't come through, somebody was supposed to make $100,000 payment, $20,000, deposits in the bank on different movies. You might have 2 or 3 different investors, and investors don't come through, but they won't tell their crew. That's wrong. You don't do that kind of stuff. And I've been accused of stabbing people in the back because I would let my friends and crew people know, hey, they've run out of money. Now, if you want to keep working, that's up to you. You have that option. They will have the money in 3 weeks or a month or whatever, 2 months, but they won't have it on Friday. And I think it's criminal for somebody to allow somebody to work. This is on the independent independent, movies.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do that kind of stuff to people. Now, studio stuff, union stuff, you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. But again, it's a different industry. And studios, when you go to work for a union, you're gonna do your part. You will be in that area that you are, and you don't touch anything else. You don't go outside of that area. If you're a DP, you just do that. If you're a gaffer, you just do that. If you're a grip, you just do that. If you're makeup, you don't step outside of that area. I love filmmaking. That's why I stay in the independent world. I like being involved in every aspect of filmmaking. I like to see the story evolve. I like talking with the different young directors and working with them, working through their movies and working through, all the different aspects of it. I'm not a union guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I say that to say I do want to direct studio pictures now, and because I'm older, I've done everything. I mean, I've been there, done that, and now the only thing left for me to do, if in terms of doing something different that I haven't done, is direct studio pictures. So Warner Brothers Universe, those movies that F. Gary Gray and Antoine Fuqua, guys who I've helped get started, are doing now. I would like to do that only because it costs so much money to make movie, and I would like to, some of the stories I want to tell need those kind of budgets.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I'm perfectly happy in indie world. I love the art of filmmaking, so I'm not in it for the money per se,
Mm-hmm.
You have to make money, we all have to make money, and I'm making money, but I'm not living for the dollar. I do okay, and I'm 67, I'm cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, it's not like I'm going to get put out my house or somebody's repossessing my car, none of that stuff. I'm good. But I would like to make a studio movie only because, it's easier to tell some of the stories that I want to tell.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That information that you're just putting out there. So we're getting ready to wrap up, but I have one last question for you. Watching the montage that we just showed, your sizzle reel, do you have a name for your film grammar and angles, the way that you tell a story? Do you have a name for your process for how you put images together? Do you have a name for it?
I've never been asked that. That's interesting. Right off the bat, I have to say no. But I mean, I can think of it. That's interesting. It's just go with the gut, man. My approach to photography is somewhat different than my approach to lighting. Because I can come to a movie differently. If I'm the cinematographer, I feel a whole different freedom than I do if I'm coming in as the gaffer to light it. Because as a cinematographer, I talk to one person, that's the director, and once I get their vision and I get their trust, they allow me to deal with the images. I do believe, from your research, you've seen some of my stuff. I am an angles person. I love taking the viewer to, I like for them to see the picture in a way that engages them. See, but then again, it's all about the printed page. It's all about the story. Some stories, the camera shouldn't get in the way. Some stories are such that don't do anything. Just take the picture. Just frame it up and let the actors and let the story happen within the frame. Don't get in the way. Some stories require the camera to be more involved in you to help tell the story visually, but it all depends on the printed page. If I come in as a gaffer, then I'm not working with the director as much as I am with the cinematographer. And the cinematographer's ego determines how involved I get in the lighting, because if you got a cinematographer who is like a young person who is very insecure and doesn't understand how to take advantage of your health, I have this thing about, like, say, you can go to work. My friend Johnny Simmons, he coined this phrase, and I used it ever since. You can go to work some days from the neck up, and some days from the neck down.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's good. That's good.
It depends on who you're working with, and a smart DP and director takes advantage of having people. See, when I'm the DP when I'm directing, I'll tell you, I'll share this with you. Surround yourself with the smartest, best people you can. And I know a lot, as you said before, and you read my credentials, and I've been there, done that on everything. But today, if I start a movie tomorrow, I'm gonna act like I'm the dumbest guy there.
Playing your position.
Yeah, and see, the beauty is working with all these people, see what they bring to the party. Mm-hmm. Why would you want to do everything and have to know everything? That's a lot of pressure, and there's no fun in that. Muhammad Ali said something years ago. I heard when he was talking to Howard Cosell, and it stayed with me, and my subconscious is part of how I live. Muhammad Ali said, Howard Cosell said, Muhammad, you think that you are, you think that you're like the smartest guy in the world. I hear you talk with your veracity. You think you're smart. And he said, no, Howard, I ain't the smartest guy in the world. I just surround myself with them. You see? So, and that makes you the smartest guy in the world, because if you're surrounded by the smartest people. So what I do is I try to surround myself. See, and that's why it kind of gets back to what you were saying earlier about, black people working together and how different people, but then you got the wrong people. Get rid of them people, find some other people. There's some good people. You want to find the people who you respect and they respect you. You see, then you don't have problems, because everybody's secure with themselves and their positions, and then it works. A good film crew, and it's like a good band, and when it all clicks, it's clicking. And when the actors hit their marks and they know their dialogue, and the camera's there and the lights there, it's like good music, man. It's just a wonderful feeling. So I say surround yourself with good people, and you don't ever want to have doubts. If you got doubts about somebody, then, you got the wrong people. Don't go that way. And it's a learning process. We all have to learn. So it's okay to pick the wrong people one time, or, to learn. It's a process. But when you see good people, treat them well, and, they'll treat you well.
Oh, wow. Let me tell you something, people. For those who don't know, I'm going to let you know again. We have been speaking with Foster V. Corridor. Listen, the information that he put out here today, I keep on saying it, but it is true. It is invaluable. It is extremely important for the up-and-coming filmmaker to hear this, to take it in. Just go back and listen to the stories, and the wealth of knowledge within the stories can tell you something. You know how we never called my grandmother Big Mama, we called her Grandma, Mama Par, but when she would sit there and tell stories, the knowledge is within the story, and you take it and say, she did that, and then so I won't have to make that mistake. And so that's the same thing with filmmaking. What he has put across, what Foster has put across, you need to heed, you need to listen to, and apply it in your everyday life, right? So this is what we do with the Film Review: movies, music, culture, politics, and society. We make sure when we interview people, they are willing and able to give the information out to the next generation of filmmakers, and that's what we do here, and that's what makes our film review so special. So we would like to thank you, Foster, for calling in.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you for giving us the extended time. This is a 2 hour and some minute thing going on here. We appreciate you.
I'm shocked, sir. You guys have one heck of a show. I didn't know it was 2 hours. I swear to God. I mean, that's why I started off rushing, because I was like, oh my God, I want to give as much as I can, but I thought we would only have a few minutes. So, pardon me sometimes there, because I didn't know you had 2 hours. And
see, we're over 2 hours, but that's what's good about being an independent.
Yeah.
You can extend time.
Yeah.
I remember something was happening on BET years ago, and then that's when Bob Johnson owned it, and he called down and said, extend the show.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. So we have we're usually a 2 hour show. Right now we're 2 hours and 32 minutes. We have basically an hour and 45 minutes with you. This information is invaluable. I said, let's keep going because I have questions and we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg, and we still haven't. Right? So we're going to have to do this again, a sit down, 2 camera shoot, lights, make it happen, give another piece, because the information that you're given is a master class, and I salute you and I thank you for replying to my request to interview you.
Well, thank you for asking. And the 2 camera, the interview on camera, that's fine, but let's sit down just socially with, you and your wife. Let's go to dinner and let's talk and get to know each other, because you guys are really exceptional people. I'm being perfectly honest with you. It's a pleasure knowing you. And, Vegas is blessed. And the world is blessed to have a show like yours. You guys are, and we didn't even get to the Charlize Theron stuff either.
No, we sure didn't. Those are just blurbs, because I don't want to take up too much time with her and her and what's happening.
And I don't either, but I'm just saying that just the topic, just the, it's current events, stuff that does need to be discussed, and before we go, my not condolences, but my prayers and wishes for Brother John Lewis, too.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell them where they can get in contact with you. I would be remiss if I didn't tell that. How can they stay in contact with you? How can actors that might want to be on your next casting call, how can people who just might want to be tutored by you, how can people who just want to stay up on your latest get in contact with you or stay in contact with you?
Right, but I'll say this. Nobody needs to get in contact with me.
Okay.
Unless it's about financing of some films or something, or they want me as a cinematographer. But follow social media, all the kids. Again, brother, I share and I have it to share, but God has blessed me. I'm 67. I'm riding the wave. I'm smelling the roses. I'm a happy camper. I'm doing the grandkids, and when I'm not on the movie set, I'm smelling the roses. So the only reason anybody would have contact me is if to shoot a movie or they want to finance the film. Other than that, they can call you, and then you can talk to them, and then you talk to me.
Oh God! I wait a minute! I've officially become the middleman of the man who once had 2 daughters to feed. Now he has grandchildren to spoil. He got grandchildren to spoil. 2 daughters to feed. Used to. Now he's got grandchildren to spoil.
Well, you're the reason that they know about me and they heard about me. So you might as well get your cut,
Oh, okay.
We'll do it like that.
See, now he's talking business, people. You see that? That's business. All right, so
that's the only way it should be. They contact me directly, and they won't tell me, "Oh, I heard you on the blog show," and then see, we won't find that out till a year later. So they can contact you, but as the kids say, I'm Insta on the gram. I'm still Foster Carter Facebook. I'm all over Google. I can't get away. So anybody that say I don't know how to get in contact with them, they don't need to get in contact with them.
Okay, this is where we're gonna wrap up because we'll keep on talking. I appreciate you, man. Truly, I do.
Thank you.
Truly, I do. So, again, we've been talking with Foster V. Corridor, and we would like to thank you again and have a great evening. And we're gonna
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, and we will be speaking soon.
And the same too. Yes, definitely. But again, you guys come to LA. I'm in and out of Vegas all the time. Let's sit down and break some bread and and talk. Okay.
All right. Appreciate you.
Yes.
We will. Most definitely. Thank you.
All right. Good night. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
All right, people. So, people, look. We had to extend the show because I had questions, and this is the wrap-up show for 2019 because next week we're going to be in 2020. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
We're leaving the 10s and going into the 20s. So I hope that you enjoyed that because there's so many gems dropped in there.
Yes.
If you were on a yellow brick road made out of gold, it would be so many different gems, emeralds, rubies, diamonds, all spread around. That's how invaluable that information was. Yes. And we even got philosophical in the discussion about the afterlife, about leaving this life and moving into the next. I mean, that is super. We hit a lot of topics.
Yeah, we did.
Right?
Great show.
Right? So now, people, we are moving on. We're moving on to the top 5 black political figures of all time. The top 5 black political figures. Let me change this graphic. We're moving on to the top 5 black political figures of all time. Right? As we extend the show out. Right? Now, as we bring this up, let me make sure I bring this up. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Okay, people.
I was trying to get my list, but...
Top 5 black political figures of all time, right? Number 5. Now, you can have your own top 5.
Yes.
And, I got my top 5. So, you can write your top 5 in, and if I can see it on Facebook. But those, if you have been commenting, I can't really see the screens because, they're doing something, and I can't figure it out yet. But I'm going to figure it out, and when I do, we'll be back to commenting to you, right? But right now, listen. You can have a top 5 list of the top 5 black political figures of all time, but this is my top, and I'm going to break it down to you. Number 5, Jesse Jackson, right? He was the bridge to hope after the assassination of Martin Luther King. He kept hope alive. He kept the push. He came in 84. He said, let's run for president, and he kept the hope alive. Now, whatever you want to get into all of the other situations and what you think that he didn't do, what he did do, well, that's on you. What I'm telling you is for his time and what he was placed on this planet to do, he accomplished that. And then again, actually being a person who actually sat there and saw your mentor get his throat blown out. With a collar be? To see his throat blown out, what kind of psyche would you have to then get back up and keep pushing? Right? What kind of psyche would you have? All right? Number 4, Shirley Chisholm. I know Reagan was depressed, but I voted for Shirley Chisholm. Right? First black woman to run for president. First black woman to run for president. You know what else? You know what else she was the first to teach us?
Yeah.
She taught us the schism between black men and black women when a political party is concerned.
Yes.
How people who are more about a political party than the advancement and the destiny of black people in this country. How they can easily turn on you and cause a schism between black men and black women because there's a third party. Now, when you get married, when you go to counseling, they tell you don't let a third party get in between you and your. So don't the woman don't go talk to your friends, and you don't go talk to your friends about problems between. You talk about problems between yourselves with each other. The struggle that we have in this country is a struggle where there's a bond between the black man and black woman, and in political places such as the Congress or the Senate, there's no time to trade off because you want to sit in the cafeteria and rub elbows and eat with people who are not in the same struggle as you. People are not in the same struggle. No matter how much they say it, they are not in the same struggle as the black man and the black woman in America 1619 and before having land. We talked about that all last week. Number 3, Barack Obama. President Barack Obama. President number 44 was one of the top black political leaders. Now, Obama wasn't black like foundational or ADOS or 1619 black or African style. Now, he was African style, but he wasn't like African style 1619 black. You know, he was like African, Kenyan, and
imagery more like.
And he was Kenyan and Kenyan descent and Oklahoma, Kansas. We're not in Kansas anymore, but Hawaii was the place where he was raised in this situation, and he was not really mixed black like ADOS or FBA or 1619 African style black in America, right? He was not that, but he was black because that's how he was manifest, and that's how. And let me get to the rest. Taught us how not to be when dealing with an opposing party. Now, he had been the president of the law review, right? At Harvard, right? Ain't that what it was?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember saying that way back when he first got elected at a panel, right? And he was the president of the law review. And Republicans and Democrats loved him equally on the college campus, and that kind of all races, and that kind of got him mixed up just a little. He was mixed up just a little because when he actually got to the bare bones of it, when you get to the Senate and the House and the presidency, that is the bare bones of politics. The theories go out the window, and whatever people's bigoted or whatever their bigoted thought or whatever their agenda is rules the day, and he was not, in my opinion, equipped for it, and he tried to be genteel against an invading horde of marauding, in my opinion, bestialistic, animalistic beast. Okay? The Tea Party spitting on the Remember the Tea Party spit on the Congress? He said, "Did you spit on me?" He should have jumped down there and showed them what brutality was. I mean, but anyway, anything. Taught us how not to be when dealing with an opposing party. Taught us, this is the very important lesson that he taught us. He taught us to never fall for the black familiarity politics. And what do I mean by that? Just because you're black We found out just because you're black don't mean that you might have the same knowledge of the horror, the Holocaust that was 1619 slavery. Slavery started in 1554. So this goes back where they were populating before it came to the United States and created the property that would make it possible for the United States to be the richest nation in the world. No one knows that Holocaust. And then the 100 years of the nadir or segregation, Jim Crow. No one knows that if their people did not experience that and did the hopscotch and jump into different states to try to escape it, to find out that racism was in a different face. What does Bessie Smith, what does Queen Latifah say with Betsy Smith when she played Betsy Smith? This is one of Bessie Smith's quotes. She said, the Southern people don't want you, they'll work alongside you, but they don't want you to get bigger than them, over them. The Northern people don't want to be beside you, something like that. She said it so much more eloquently, but this is the facts. And so he taught us not to fall for the black familiarity politics. That's why Old Girl went down in flames. That's why Cory Booker is going to go down in flames. That's why so many more. That's why Old Boy from Boston, I predict he's going to go down in flames because I can't even think of his name. Because Charlemagne ate him up on the show so bad, he might as well just go back to not running. What is his name from Boston, the black dude? So proper. Nothing wrong with Patrick Duvall. He's so proper spoken. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being proper spoken, but he doesn't have any grit. He doesn't have any coming from the gut. He's been. But that's the point. That might be an ad hominem attack if I threw an insult. But no. Well, basically, no black familiarity politics. We're done with that. We're done. Okay, number 2. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan, a spiritual leader who, through the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, has taught a generation how to love ourselves, even if we don't always practice it all the time. Right? So they clean people up, and there is a residue effect of those who may not join the nation, but read the books, understand and have an overstanding of the teachings, and then utilize certain things in their lives to live a better life. This is where he is. He's not a political figure, but because he tells the truth about what we go through.
Yeah,
right?
We've seen people
life change. But just to be able to talk truth to power, where other leaders choose to play the game. Number 3. He is always been, and we don't know what's going to happen. He's always been our moral rudder from the time that I've been alive. He's been black people's moral rudder. Now we can get into talking about what happened with Malcolm and what happened with that and all that, but the proof is in the pudding of what is brought about when these teachings are brought about. And you see everybody else copying it. They want to still drink and do all that, but then they have diet plans that come out that sounds like How to Eat to Live, just repackaged.
What's the saying? What is it? Without works is dead.
Yeah, without faith works is dead.
Right. And so when you said that, I thought about in our previous business, next door to us was a black owned restaurant. At the time, when we first opened.
Captain, it was Captain's Choice. We can say it.
Muslim owned. And it was just like,
and they're whiting. Whiting.
The whole menu. But anyway, it's just like they practiced their religion, and they actually they lived it. Like, was it faith without works is dead, right? But they were followers, or are followers of the minister Louis Farrakhan, right? And so having worked or lived, basically, they were in their businesses. I feel
As long
20s
as,
like
we were.
So we all practically lived
Up there
side by
on the
side.
block, yeah.
And it was just like a family atmosphere. Like we would look out for them, they would look out for us. It was just like literally working side by side with family.
It's like go ahead, finish.
You know, so I honestly saw in live action how his followers live their lives by dealing with, you know, by working with side by side. Actually, they were like family.
And this is not to put aspersion, because
like
there are
family.
people who are Christian,
right,
or who are Buddhist, or who are
but we're talking
whichever
about,
religion. But I'm just saying that you could work alongside, because there are certain things that we work together. Right. It doesn't matter what our slight divisions of thought process is. Right. Work with what you do. And that's what's so disheartening about what's happening. We're going to talk about that in the future.
No, but the thing is, what I like about us is, like, you know, we work with everyone, right? And then, you know, have love and respect for everybody. Everybody should work together, you know, and it doesn't matter what your religion is, right? So, but yeah. Okay, so that was number 2. Right. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Number 1. The number 1 top 5 black political figure. Okay. Is you. Okay. You are the number 1 top 5. Right. It's up to you to each one teach one. Okay. As the individual within the group, pushing your knowledge and what you do to make it a better way for the next generation. That is who you are. You are the number 1 political, because everyone, believe it or not, if you believe in voting or not voting, that is a politic. Right. If you believe in what you believe in and you voice it, that is your politics. Right. And how you do is you join along with people who are like-minded in certain things that you agree with. You're like-minded. You can leave everything else to the side till you get with the people who are, because in every group of people who believe in whatever they believe in, there's a group of people who don't move at all. Yeah. Right? And you can't get them to move because they want to believe in what they believe in. Right. So you get with different people from the different groups within black. Right. And you move forward with it to remember the history and say, I am not going to sell out. That's the one thing that we haven't done, is push through to see it all the way through. So number 5, top 5 black political figures. Jesse Jackson, number 4. Shirley Chisholm, number 3. Barack Obama, number 4. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan, and number 1, you. Right. You. I agree with your list too, and then of course, you know who I'm going to add. Okay, who you going to add to the list? Of course, Martin Luther King Jr. Of course, right, and Malcolm. Malcolm X as well, and there are just so many other great. Medgar Evers, just so many. Medgar Evers. Wow, jeez. I was trying to keep from mentioning people who had got cut down in their middle of trying to make their political statements, but hey, but you didn't say that because we have become a people who worship death. Okay, and we need to worship life. Yes, that was good, and yes, what they say, and yes, we can reference what they say, but the ultimate, Farrakhan said this in a speech, and I'm not saying it correctly or in any way as eloquent as he says it though, but he says that the smart revolutionary lives on to teach another day. Right? So so you were going with the leaders who were not
killed, because
Well,
in
you can
each and
tell
every
that.
one of their ways,
Okay.
they found, because I purposely stayed away from it. We always reference Martin Luther King, Malcolm X.
Well,
but what about when the pieces,
right.
when the king is gone? That means Malcolm,
Okay.
Martin, Medgar Evers.
Okay.
When the king is gone,
Okay.
who is there to not
Keep it
necessarily
going.
take the throne, but
Right.
keep it going? And
Right.
those are the ones in tragedy that
Right.
show their strength to continue on. When
Right.
Elijah Muhammad passed through and rode the wheel within wheel,
Right.
who was
Right.
there
Right.
to pick up and continue the Nation of Islam?
Right.
Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Right.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Okay,
Right.
people. So that was the top 5 list. Our movie review for tonight is Waves.
Yeah.
That's right. Waves, people.
I'm scared to grab my phone.
Yeah, you just turn
But
it
you know,
down.
this is that app
Just
they
I know they
added.
added the app. They're just violating. There you go.
The
It's
volume
all
is
quiet.
down.
Okay, good. It's quiet. Yeah, let's try it. All right, people. So the movie review for tonight. This has been a robust show. This is a beautiful way to close out the 2010s with this episode, right? Beautiful way to do it. Okay, listen, people.
Yeah, because I was thinking, well, depending on your timing, the other portion, probably do that New Year's Eve.
No, we almost finished.
Okay.
Waves, people.
Okay, I'm looking up the cast, right?
Okay, Waves. Starring Kelvin Harrison as Tyler. Now, we talked about Kelvin Harrison last week in a movie called, what was that movie called last week? What was it called? It was a movie, it was a great movie called Loose.
Yes.
He's been in Loose. He's been in Godfather of Harlem. I mean, he's making his rounds in film, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Taylor Russell as Emily. That's the sister of Tyler.
Yes.
Sterling K. Brown as Ronald.
We know him from This Is Us.
This Is Us, right? Renee Ellis Goldsberry as Catherine.
Right.
And Alexa Demi as Alexis, right? Directed by Trey Edward Schultz.
And Lucas Hedges.
Writer and, I thought he was co-producer.
Oh, no. Lucas Hedges?
Oh, I'm not mentioning him.
Oh, well.
I wasn't mentioning him.
Okay.
He was insignificant in the storyline to me. Directed by Trey Edward Schultz, writer, and he was the co-producer. Cinematographer Drew Daniels, edit Trey and Isaac Hagee, right?
Right.
Now, let me say first, the cinematography and the film grammar on the opening scene alone. The film grammar and the cinematography is great. The angles they use, but the
opening scene, we don't want to spoil it for
in
you,
the
but
car
amazing
is unbelievable.
Amazing.
I still have not
seen it
figured out how he did it, because the camera work is so steady and it's one continuous move.
And they do it twice in the film.
The relationship between the son and the father. The relationship between the mother and son, sister and brother, girlfriend and boyfriend, and the relationship between the classmates. Well drawn out. Remember, we told you to go see this film so that we could talk about it, but I know that it has gotten later and probably people wouldn't be up for it. But you can watch on the replay and type in later. It makes no difference to us, because we replay on so many different platforms so that you can hear the show again and again and again. The synopsis of the film, as I see it, is a young man coming of age with a loving mother, a dominating father, caring sister, finds it hard to balance school, sports, and a relationship.
Yeah.
That is just scratching the tip of the iceberg, and you have to see this film.
Yeah.
The structure of the film diverts from the traditional structure.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a little spoiler in this, not too much, but it's got to be a little spoiler to get my point across. It moves from telling a story of a middle class black family to a relationship between a sister and a boyfriend after a big twist happens in the story. I haven't told you the twist, so you don't know the twist. You have to see this film, right? What's not good about the film is the wave of turn it takes. The writer is Caucasian, and the story is good until the twist.
Oh, yeah.
At that point, it turns into a story about a white character and his dying father. Now, the movie is called Waves, and maybe this is a new way of having storytelling. Because, storytelling is usually the story opens, beginning, middle, end. It follows one protagonist or an ensemble cast with the main plot to it. But this movie moved in what they said, waves.
Literally.
Literally.
Because this is a really good film, because we're not going to give away, but it starts off, the storyline takes off, and then the other characters, it opens up a storyline about them, and then there's another character, and it's kind of the film is, like I said in the theater, I was like, this is actually in waves. Because normally you go to the theater, you see a film, you know who the main character is, and the secondary characters. And this one, I mean, it's just like you're introduced to multiple characters, but then something happens, and then it opens up the door to a storyline for another character, and then this other character enters the film, and then there's a storyline for this character. Well done.
We just I found I was able to find the writing. What's going on, Shanine? Adriana,
hello.
What's going on to you? Just woke up. Wow, no Van Esto and True. I don't know what no Van Esto. I don't speak Spanish. I know they told us that one day that this would be the day that this would happen, but it didn't.
You took Spanish.
I took Spanish, but I don't remember it. But anyway, people. So look, this film disturbs. It's a great film. It's a great film, but it disturbs me, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
You know how you watch films and then they'll have or you'll watch a trailer and they'll have a black person in the film to make you go see the film, and then when you go see the film, it's not about the black person that was in the trailer. That's just a secondary person that just came up in one scene and they use it to sell a film. This is a 2 hour and some minutes and seconds. Beautiful picture through the first 2/3 of the film. Where the first 2/3 is where it should have climaxed and cut out.
Okay.
But this is what disturbs me about the film, and this is why I give it the rating that I give it.
Okay.
It makes it appear and look like he told the story about the black family. That whole story about the black family, about the domineering father, the caring sister, the loving mother, the twist in it, all to get the audience engaged.
Okay.
Then to tell a personal story about a experience with a loved one that was in hospice.
Okay.
That's what it's about. Now, anyone who has had people die, like we've had people pass,
Right.
Two of the closest people to us passed due to cancer, and they went into a hospice situation. Anyone who has experienced that, that's cool and captured it exactly the way it is. If you want to know exactly how that is and what it is and what you have to do, watch the last third of this film. right? But it's like they set up the whole piece. The whole 2/3 of the film is a setup to talk about this white character and his terminally ill father. It just really throws the picture off. But I'm gonna be kind with my thing because the cinematography is so strong. It could be a 20, but it's a 10.
Strong.
The characters are strong. They're 10. The arcing of the characters 10. The use of light to tell the story. The use of staging and the use of particular positioning of the camera and the angles, the film grammar, the locations where it's shot, the use of showing what the generation is like today, all 10s. The story, the through line checks out 2/3 into the film because something happens. There's a major twist in it, then it switches over. The use of size, of angle size, to represent people being in a box or being in a full world, beautifully done. I haven't really seen it done before. I might be wrong. Might have been some French New Wave thing going on there that I hadn't seen, that I had overlooked, but beautifully done. But the story takes a dive around 2/3 of the film, and you're sitting up there like, this could have been chopped off, and we could have ended it right there. We could have put in more about the mother and the son and the meeting later. The story is a 7.
Okay.
Which I could really drop it down lower, but so it's a 7, so I give the film a 9.5.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, I said I was going to be generous because the acting is so strong.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, there's tears in this film.
Yeah.
Tears.
Yeah.
Not looking scared throughout the whole film. But anyway, I can't. That right there is like an image that's seared in my brain, and I can't shake it. It's like something that would be something that would flash in your, it flash as you're passing on to the other side. Like, why did I even see that monstrosity on that crash? Okay, what would you rate the film?
Okay, I love the cinematography. Like you said, like the opening scene. We're sitting in the theater. I'm like, do you see this? Do you see how the camera's moving? And had never seen before. So cinematography is great. The acting is like superb because, I mean, when we saw previews for this film, right? And when we saw that Sterling K. Brown was going to be in the film, we knew then. We said, okay, this is going to be a good film.
Good film, yeah.
And so we were not disappointed. And I'm pulling up the cast again. Because
you do have to add in the Caucasian character somewhere within the 1/3 of the film. It just changes over about his life, like. But
yeah.
I just couldn't understand.
But no, but like, so then, you know, we saw Sterling K. Brown in the previews, and then Renee Elise Goldsberry saw that she was going to be in the film. Knew she was a great actor. She off Broadway from the play Hamilton, right?
Hamilton.
So she's one of the stars from Broadway. But prior to that,
I wouldn't know Hamilton.
I know her from I believe it was One Life to Live years ago. Either All My Children or One Life to Live, but it was one of the ABC soap operas. So like her acting was superb back then, right? So saw her, knew the film was going to be great. So we went to see the film, and Taylor Russell, she was great. Alexa Demi, but like Kevin Harris Jr. Oh my God,
Kelvin. I mean, I know we've been butchering his name.
It's Kelvin.
We've been butchering his name for sure, but it's Kelvin.
But Kelvin kills his. I mean, it's just like his acting. After seeing him in Loose and in this film, definitely, his future is going to be like bright if he continues on the path of selecting really great scripts that could like so you can really see him shine. I mean, it's moving forward into 2020. He's gonna be like the breakout star because his acting is like superb. Having seen him and then The Godfather of Harlem, right?
Right.
So the 3 different characters that I've seen,
He's totally different.
totally different. So in waves, right? So the acting pulls you in, right? So I think the issue is because like he did such a great job in waves, right? So that character, especially having a family full of like young black men that age, excited about life, their careers and school and work, and like his character, you became invested and you liked this character. But then the film is called Waves, so everything is moving in waves. So right, and then you get to know the other characters. So it would have been great if the movie was all about like him, So I do love like the ensemble cast, right, and with the family, him, his mom, sister, father, But the other actors did well. But I definitely have to focus on him.
I got a feeling it's getting ready to be a whammy here.
Definitely have to focus on him.
Okay.
Right, his acting is superb.
She is the crib. I think a whammy is coming.
No whammies.
Okay.
Because even like with the sister, right, her storyline, and having lost, loved ones, it was easy to what's the word, to relate to her. Okay. And then I don't want to tell the story, but the part that you're talking about, right, with that character, and his dad, having lost a parent and dealing with hospice. So I could relate to like all of the characters.
You can relate to it.
So for me, and on top of that, like I said, the acting was superb, right? And then like the music was nice. Speaking of the music, whoever put the music together
chose the
he did great.
auteur who chose the music to go in the film.
Did a great job and stuff, with the music and stuff. But
so
I would definitely. Did I leave anything off? The backdrop.
Okay, the backdrop.
Weren't they in Florida?
Yes, they were.
Beautiful.
In Florida.
Like
opens up. It tells you exactly where you are from the opening sequence.
Yeah, right. So especially this one scene jumps out. Like I'm like, okay, so we had Lake, Erie and everything, and we had. But,
it turned blue sometimes.
But the thing about it is, the one scene, and I'm not going to give the movie away, where they're swimming with those big funny looking things that look like monsters in the water, like. Not used to that. Like we had a lake too, but we didn't swim with.
The sea minutes or whatever they call it.
I mean, So it was just beautiful, like the whole backdrop, the beach and everything, Florida, different lakes and everything that they. But I think it was a pretty good film. So I would definitely give it a 10.
Oh, 10.
So what did you think I was gonna?
Well, I thought you was about to give it a whammy, but it's cool.
No whammy. No, because literally the film is called Waves.
Right, and it goes
and
waves.
It goes in
But
waves.
it went into waves, to tell a story after you went through and they built you up and they had the audience hooked. Then they bring it to this where you're as a viewer watching this.
No, because you felt like it opened up with this family, right? This black family. And you became engaged in the family.
And the next thing you know, it ends with a white family.
No, it don't. Really.
Yes, it does.
It's intertwined. The families are intertwined. But anyway,
it begins with a family that's totally together, close knit family, and it ends with a disjointed family.
If you think about it, the opening, because we're not gonna give the film away.
Okay.
It opens up with the one particular family member, right? and then it
It waves.
ends with her.
It waves with a different family
It ends
member.
with no. It's,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, yeah, that's
her.
right. Yeah, I
She's-
got it. I
you know, she's-
remember. Right.
So I mean, the film was so good that you do become engaged, and then like I said, the young
So you
man.
gave it a 10.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you could kind of like the different storylines. If you dealt with those different,
Those different situations, you could feel
you
it.
could feel
But
it.
we talked to a guy when we came out the theater, and
Oh.
he was like,
He was nice.
He because when they show you the trailer, they don't really tell you what the movie is
And we love
about.
to talk to the people in the theater,
After
like
they come
after
out.
the film.
Well, one person, I get one, usually a couple, but he was there, and I asked him. He was like, I said, "What made you see the movie?" He said he saw the trailer, didn't know
Right.
what it was about. I said, "Yeah, we didn't know really what it was about
Yeah.
either, but we saw who was in it." Yeah, he said Sterling, and
Yeah,
we went to go
Moses
see it.
Sterling, right.
And so we went to go see it. And like I said, everything in it is superb, but then it switches. It's kind of like how you watch American Gods and then the black people up on the screen, and then when it turns to the secondary, which are supposed to be the main characters, when it goes to the secondary characters, the acting goes down because the life experience isn't there. People, okay, so 10 and 9.5. So
That's pretty good.
go see the film. It's
Waves.
probably available on demand now.
Yes.
Because it was in limited release.
Right.
So definitely see it. It is worth it. And Kelvin Harrison Jr.
Oh my gosh.
is the breakout star.
Yes.
We see it. Okay, people.
Go see him in
moving
Loose
on.
also. We covered it.
In Loose. So moving on, people. This is the end of the 10s, the 2010s, and as you see, I have released much material.
Yeah.
You can see it on my Facebook page, Crazon Dion. You can see the links there, and we will have links in the description on the replay of this, and you can just go to all of these different situations. These are my films. I call it a decade of works.
Yes.
And over here is my music selection that you can hear on Apple and etc. All the different things. You'll have all the links down here at the bottom, right? Over here, right here is Suave Gotti. During the summer, we interviewed him when we went back home.
Yeah, great interview.
We went back to
Great
Cleveland,
interview.
Ohio, and it's broke up into 3 parts, and you can hear it and see it on various different platforms. YouTube right here where you're seeing us right now. And over here is Von Mason. Bounce, rock, skate, roll, bounce, rock, skate, right? And jamming big guitar and oh baby, my darling. But anyway, this interview, all of the interviews that we do, like what you heard earlier with Foster V. Cordor, are interviews that give and disseminate information to the next generations, and for those within this generation now that have ears to hear and eyes to see and mind to see, third eye to see, right? So all of the interviews we do are for that purpose, right? And right here, people, is the only $15 TFR ad special. That's right. For only $15, you are a filmmaker.
Right.
You are a person that has a book.
Right.
You are a person who has music.
Right.
You can come on here. We will give you an extensive interview, and we will play your song right here on this live platform that plays on iHeartRadio, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Play, on Spotify, on Podcast Addict, on all of the various different platforms. You will be seen, heard, recognized, and appreciated within all of these countries. We are lighting up the globe. This special runs from January 1st to January 15th, leading into the actual interviews happening on our February Black History Month episodes. You don't necessarily have to be black, but you have to have something that is assisting and helping, something to make people feel leisurely when they're listening to some good hip-hop music, right? Or if you have a book, a how-to, if you have a film, don't sit up and let years pass by because you don't have formats
or children's book.
Format
like the Sean
Snow. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
People who have come on to the show and been seen, heard, recognized, and appreciated. Big shows, right? Don't be a person who sat around for years and have these films and you don't have any outlet. You've entered some film festivals, but that's where the film festival thing really stops, right? But here you are able to hit, and if you have your global game together, and when the different people from these different countries reach out to you to purchase your product, you are ready to ship. You are ready to push send. This is what we offer to you right here at the Film Review, movies, music, culture, politics, and society podcast, right? This is what we offer. This is what we do. We're not here trying to make a living off of you. That's why it's the $15 special. Now, it goes back up, but it goes back up after the 15th of January back to its original price, but that's still not a price of trying to make a living off of you. That's why it's $15, because you come in, we're doing a certain service for you, and we believe in getting paid for our service. And you shouldn't begrudge that, because you believe in working and getting paid for your service. So the only $15 TFR ad special, where you're on here in February, Black History Month, interviewing you about your book, about your product, about your music, about your film. And it's going globally into all these different countries. We're not just talking about just the United States. I'm getting good at pointing the map out. I'm kind of like a meteorologist.
Right.
You say, look at it, I'm going over here, not just Canada, not just Alaska, but over here at South Africa, and you're coming up here and you see Italy, and
really, it's like it's an investment in yourself.
It's an investment in yourself. It's
That's
part
all.
of your marketing and promotion globally, right? So, people, it's the Film Review, movies, music, culture, politics, and society, and this is our special, the only $15 TFR ad special, where you get an interview and we review your product. How much more can that be?
This all kind of really came about because of a pet peeve.
Okay.
And we talked about this like all the time. We'll see a business, right? It doesn't matter if it's like a restaurant or a clothing store, or I mean, it just doesn't matter. And people, they just don't like invest in like marketing.
That's right. That's an investment.
And they don't invest in themselves, right? And then it's just like, and then because we go in and we support like independent business, black-owned businesses, right? So we'll go to the and support, right? And then we'll say, oh, this is a great place and stuff, and then like 3 or 4 months later, we'll go purchase or to go sit down and eat or do whatever.
And they're gone.
And it's just so frustrating because like
they didn't advertise. And coming from where we come from, brick and mortar.
Right, and we advertised. We did commercials. We advertised
with local DJs who had space on their mixtape. We did it all.
People who had magazines.
Right.
We invested in with the different schools had different programs and the little calendars and this and that. We did that. We did commercials. We did business with independent. Like whoever has something going on, we tried to support them. We put ads in their magazine. And through
supporting them, we really supported ourselves, because people say, I saw you in that magazine.
Exactly.
I heard you on that mixtape.
So it just baffles me when people just don't push themselves.
Don't have a concept of what marketing and promotion does.
Exactly. So we said, why don't we need to, because there are so many people, and then we like in passing, like we'll see different like projects, films or whatever that people are working on, but you don't hear about it anymore.
Don't hear about it anymore.
Like, and it's just like, and you don't visually see anything.
Don't visually see.
So we said, well, maybe if we do this, then people will maybe start investing in themselves, and then this is a way to push whatever they're doing.
Because the fact is, most people can't afford the prices on cable television.
Yeah.
They can't, because when we were coming through, the prices were quite reasonable.
Right.
And I look at the prices now as a retailer at the time. The prices were quite
reasonable.
We
advertised with on BET, MTV, VH1, NBC, ABC.
Right. We went through the cable system, right? And so the prices were quite reasonable. Now, just looking at just my opinion, they're not. And so you can't afford to be on TV. So the same people that you saw on TV before are the same people that you see later, because they are larger concerns and mostly Caucasian. So when you have a place like this, a platform, this is a place though. This is a place. This is a visual place, right? Where the people have a overstanding or understanding, depending on what you believe, that have that they know coming from retail establishments, right? From retail business, then you realize that they're coming with the plan that works because they worked the plan before. And that's it, people. The film review, movies, music, culture, politics, and society, the only $15 TFR ad special, January 1st through the 15th are the deadline days. That's when we open up to start taking the information. Lordland Enterprises at hotmail.com. That's Lordland Enterprises at hotmail.com to send in, to submit about your business, your song, your product, your film. And then we will get in contact with you, schedule the date in February, and you will be on in Black History Month.
Because there's so much talent out here, you know, and then having, like, you know, talk to and work with different artists, whether they're like authors, because we had a lot of black authors' books and stuff, in our stores. In the store. But then as well as singers and actors and actresses and
we had this one book, pimp books were big in that era.
Book,
but this book
was it sci-fi?
No. But this pimp book
you're talking about
was about the pimp book was about not the pimp game, but the working behind the scenes of what made a pimp, right? So hygiene. I mean, he just laid it out. It was such a great book. It was such a great read. Information that you can take on, not as a pimp, but just in everyday life, right? Then we had this Afro soul kung fu sci-fi book.
Oh my gosh, that book was amazing.
Amazing, and he had like 4 volumes.
Oh, 4.
Right?
Okay, I got.
He might have more. But well, I didn't get through the last 2 because at that time my mother had passed, and so that was a wrap of reading or anything. But those books were fantastic, right? So, and it read like a kung fu flick, except
as you read it, right? What did we say? Like all of us.
I could see it in a movie.
In a movie, it was like you were like visually seeing everything as if you were watching a film, and not just us. Like other people said that.
That when book, they purchased the book.
Yeah, a lot of those books sold. Because when people say black people don't read, I'm like, no, because the books we had in our store sold out, and we would have to have the authors come back in. But the point of me saying all of this is that it's just so much talent out there. And I think it's because of being able to have that one-on-one relationship with people, having had a retail establishment, brick and mortar, for 15 years and interacting with so many people. And even in this platform, just listening to all of the music and watching the films that we receive from people, it's just so much talent out here that people need to just invest in yourself, get it seen so people can see. Because just like we know about the movie studios, right? And we know about the record studios. But it just seems like there's only like a few artists, and it's just like that they choose or that we know about, big stars. But there is so much other talent like out here, like across the world. And like this is the platform that we offer you to push yourself, invest in yourself,
Right.
so you can be seen.
And plus, especially if you're an artist, these are part of the possible tour areas, right? But you need the platform that is already pushing, that already has a signal. It's about being big upped or co-signed by a entity that's already working, right? That's already established, that's already moving. And so when you come on the Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, Society podcast live stream, and you're interviewed, and we play your product or we show your trailer or your film, and then we review your product or film or book, etc. You are seen, heard, recognized, and appreciated in all of these areas, right? All of this is the globe flattened out. This is the world, all these different countries, right? This is like what we would call the TFR, Ring of Fire, right? The Film Review, the only $15 TFR ad special. Lordland Enterprises at hotmail.com. That's Lordland Enterprises at hotmail.com. Send your interest in with your bio and your information, and we will get in contact with you to schedule your date in to be interviewed and have your song, film, product, book reviewed. All right, people. So we're almost wrapping up. This has been a great episode. We are coming up on 30 minutes until 4 hours. All right, people. So we have been working this out. So people, this is the last thing. Next week, we're going to be showing you the new 2020 trailers of films. So you want to stay tuned for that. So people, the last list for tonight, the Hollywood Reporter contacted us about a month ago concerning us being people in the industry. And they wanted us to take a poll, take a vote on the top films of the 10s of 2010. Now they said 20 of the 2010s. I called it the 10s. We are leaving the 10s. So this is our list. Recapping for us is constantly moving forward, but we would be remiss if we didn't look at the top 20, our top 20. Now their top 20 was one thing, our top 20 is another thing. So you can compare the list of the Hollywood Reporter, and then you can compare the list of the Film Review, and these are our top films from the 10s. I can't believe we leaving the 10s. But anyway, number 20, Deadpool. Number 19 is a tie. Green Book and Queen and Slim. Both films have to do with traveling the road, right? And Green Book had its controversies, and so does Queen and Slim. And Queen and Slim is more closer down to the bottom of the list because it's so new. Number 18, Hot Tub Time Machine. Hilarious, right? Number 17, Rocket Man, the Elton John story.
Yeah, that was real cool.
World War Z is number 16. That's that zombie movie with Brad Pitt, right? That was that really opened up the genre back when it came out. Number 15 is Bohemian Rhapsody. It's the story of Queen. Number 14 is Vice. That's the movie about, what's his name? The vice president under Bush 2, Dick Cheney. Oh, yeah. That's right. Number 13, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That's right. It's a cartoon. We don't know what they're gonna do with the next one, but this one was a masterpiece. Number 12, Joker. Excellent film. Number 11. Now number 11 could have been in the top 10, but the other film that this particular filmmaker made the top 10 list. Number 11, Us. Number 10, Fences.
Okay.
That's Denzel Washington, directorial. I don't think it's his debut, but he took a stage play and turned it into a film.
Yeah.
And he got away with it being dialogue heavy. Films aren't dialogue heavy. They're films about images, but he got away with it. Number 9, which is great directing and great editing, filmmaking. Number 9, Get Out.
Okay.
Number 8, Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Don't let anyone tell you Will Smith and one of his people who he gave a chance to, who played Harlequin.
Oh yeah.
They make that film.
Margot Robbie.
That's right.
Yeah.
Number 7, Moonlight.
Yeah.
You know, people are making a lot about what the LGBTQ are doing as far as advancing, but you know, we are on a perpetual hamster wheel, and we've seen these advances before, and you know what happens? Someone sells out, and then it goes back to the way it was. Okay, so we can just wait on that. Number 6, history repeats itself. Number 6, Black Klansman.
Yeah.
Right, now we're coming into the top 5. Black Klansman could have made top 5, but it was something about it that was missing in the film. I'm glad that Spike got his Oscar, but it was something missing there. I can't quite put my finger on it. Number 5, Django Unchained.
Yeah.
Right, Quentin Tarantino. Number 4, this film made you care and invest in the character's well-being, and that was Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Number 3, 12 Years a Slave. Number 2, Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah.
And the number 1 who made people feel like they could astro project and move on into a whole new atmosphere and a whole new world was Black Panther.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what was strange about the list from the Hollywood Reporter was 3 films that they had as the top 3 were not necessarily ADOS or Foundation of Black Americans or 1619 African style films, right? They were done. The main ones that they looked up to, they were actors that were not necessarily foundational Black Americans or 1619 African style beings that were here on this. So they were really pushing an agenda, I thought.
Okay.
But at least it was the top 3 were 3 Black films, and you can go see that right there, right? So we have 3 Black films.
I like your list, but we have to add to it. Okay, so you already added Straight Outta Compton, right? So that was added. Now we also have to add Idlewild.
Idlewild was not the 10s.
It said 2003.
That's the 00s. We're in the 10s.
Oh, so you were doing
Idlewild is 03.
Oh. Well, I love Idlewild. You know,
Idlewild is a classic. If we went to all time, maybe we do all time.
We need to do all
but
time.
We're doing 10.
Okay, well, what about, I also had Cadillac Records.
Cadillac Records, I don't know where that hits. Does
I
that hit
the
09 or is it 10?
Oh, yeah. I
It
think
could
it was
be
like
it
3 or 6.
3. Yeah, that was 60. That was.
Okay.
No. All right.
No need for me to mention Dreamgirls. I was gonna add that.
Oh no. That would be all-time Black films. Maybe we'll do a survey. Okay, people. This has been another robust episode of the Film Review. This is our recap. That was our representation and recap because we believe in constantly moving forward. Want to know why? You want to know why we believe in constantly moving forward? Is because of the fact that we got ours archived. You can go hear what we said in the 10s.
That's true.
Right?
Right.
So what did you want to say? We left one out?
You know what? We left out. Was on their list. Oh, when we did their list, we did select the equalizers because those were all good. Denzel.
Oh yeah, Denzel.
We chose that.
Equalizer.
Yeah, we chose
did.
that on the Hollywood Reporter. We did.
Yeah,
that.
I left that.
And then oh yeah, it wasn't on your list, but we voted for that.
I had to pick between Fences and
Okay.
Equalizer, so I picked.
But on the other list, we chose.
Yeah, we did
have
Equalizer. That's right.
And you know what? I didn't see on their list either, but I just thought about it. Even though Denzel, he was a star, and it was a multicultural cast. Denzel did really good in was it the Magnificent? Was it Magnificent 8?
Oh, the Magnificent. Yeah, the Magnificent.
As the cowboy,
Seven.
he killed.
Yes. That's right. That was not on the list.
Yeah.
They just
so we just added it.
We just added it.
I mean, they could have just had another. But Denzel's
Magnificent Seven was a classic.
It was a classic. So I just added it to the list just now.
So there it is, people. So this has been a robust last episode of the 10s.
Yes.
When we come back and see you again next week, and we got some heavy hitters coming in January, people.
Yeah.
We got some heavy hitting interviews coming in January, people.
Yes.
We are going to be in the 20s, the roaring 20s again. Research the roaring 20s.
Yeah.
And you'll see what we're going into now, people. Listen. This has been the Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, and Society podcast. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
Tracy.
I'm the voice of the filmmaker. My wife is the voice of the critic. And we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society on the Film Review. And we will see you next week. Happy New Year.
Yes.
2020. With the new trailers of 2020. The film's coming out starting in January. They're starting the season early.
Yes.
And we shall see you on the Film Review.
Yes. Good night.
Maybe if we can just have this come up, I mean, this would be good. Well, I tell you, we can't get out of here. You know, it's like a robbery trying to get out of here. There we go.
Is holding on.
Trying to 2019 holding on. Okay, people, we are out. The Film Review. I'm glad I get to clean this up later. Here we go.
The Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, Society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Facebook at Crazon Dion.
Hey everybody, this is Lunell, the original bad girl of comedy. I'm here at the Link Promenade in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, and you're watching the Film Review.